You were tuned in to G5 Jeff TV. Y'all are not doing shit. Get in front of the TV right now. Get in front of the screen. This is going to be a real one. I got my guy, the VP in the building. VP Shane, what's going on?
Everything's good, bro. What's good?
And I got a very, very special guest on the line. I'm so happy that he's on here. AFTV's own Laurie in the building. Laurie, what's going on? Show him the jab.
You know what? I threw more punches there in that little 10-second thing than Adam Yoder and throwing in a whole fight last week. But yeah, man.
Exactly.
You can already tell what kind of guy he is already. You already know.
Hey, no
We got all the London crew out here, man. You know what I mean? North
Absolutely.
London. Yeah,
well, we had
something hard today, man.
Laurie, introduce yourself in terms of like your boxing background and everything, and like who you are, where you come from, what you're doing, and all of that stuff.
Okay, yeah, no problem, man. My name's Laurie. As you said earlier, I'm connected with AFTV, which is Arsenal Fan TV. That's a channel run and owned by my brother. It's the biggest fan channel in the world, Arsenal Football Club fan channel. So I work with my brother. He's doing some great work there. My own self, in terms of boxing, I'm a lifelong boxing fan. Boxing is one of my passions. I'm in my 50s, and I've loved boxing from an early age. I got into it through my dad. My dad's Jamaican. A lot of Jamaicans love their boxing. No different in my family. And I grew up watching all the fights, man. Ali, you know what I mean, right for up to this day. I boxed myself to a fairly decent level as an amateur. Entered several competitions. I didn't win any, but I did my best. And I'm proud to say that I've had my fair share of fights. I'm a qualified boxing coach, and yeah, man, boxing's my passion. I love working out. I love talking boxing, and I love communicating with you guys, man, because you got the same passion for boxing that I have. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be on here today, bro. Looking forward to it.
I have a biological father, but Laurie's like my boxing father. Wherever I go, whether it's whatever like organization I'm working with, when it's boxing, I go there and they know Laurie. Somebody at that event knows Laurie, which is dope because this is a guy he's never really worked for anybody when it comes to boxing. He's just a boxing fan, but everybody seems to know him. So that's dope, man. That's real good. And obviously,
hey, man, that's great to hear, man. And this is not the last time you're gonna see Laurie on the show. But we had our good friend Uncle Bob Arum come out and say that Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury is a done deal and the contracts are being signed. As far as that's concerned, Shane, I'll start with you. How do you feel about that? Just the news period. Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? How do you feel about it?
I mean, what I would say is there was a clear pay. They wanted to do it as fast as possible. The speed that they were doing it at was faster than anything else that they were doing it at. So you look how they done the Wilder fight, and you look how they done how slow they done AJ and Wilder, and how fast they done Fury and AJ. That just tells me Eddie was much more keen to fight Fury than he was to fight Wilder. I feel like the fight's definitely done. Me and Jeff was speaking about this maybe 2 months ago, and we were saying when we saw Usyk and Usyk was moved aside and the WBO let that AJ and Fury fight happen, we knew that fight was definitely going to happen and they were going to strike now, you know. And I just feel like it just makes Team AJ look a bit suspect, but I still rocking with Team AJ, but it just makes them look a bit suspect how fast they were able to get that deal done. And obviously, you know, Bob Arum, he's always trying to make it seem like it was that he was the one who made the boxing a heavyweight division spark up again, and he was the one who made the heavyweight division like there's one face, one champion, one name, and Tyson Fury was the one who's willing to fight everybody. But really and truly, it's just the promotional outfits and the promoters sitting down and getting the deal done. And I feel like everybody wanted to strike now because there's not been a lot of money in boxing and there's not much cash fights as there is in this one.
What's happening, fellas?
Hey, We have Boxing Lowdown in the building. What's going on, my brother?
I'm all good, man. How you doing, bro?
Everything good, man. Listen, just introduce yourself, man. Let the people know who you are, your channel, and everything.
Yeah, man. The Boxing Lowdown. You can follow it on all platforms: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Active on all three. Yeah, man. Just we chop it up, talk boxing over here. Myself and Laurie from AFTV. We host a podcast every Thursday, which you two guys regularly contribute to, which is good. So yeah, man. We're just here to chop it up with some good fellas, man. Talk some boxing.
Absolutely. I'm gonna let you know in advance it's gonna get a little crazy in here. So go ahead, take your hosting hat off and go ahead and get wild with us.
I'm ready.
And yes, Laurie, how did you feel about hearing the news as far as AJ and Tyson Fury being done?
Well, we've been hearing bits and pieces for a while now. And what I would say is, wasn't it Bob Arum who once said, yesterday I was lying, today I'm telling the truth?
Yes.
When a man can say that about himself, you can't really trust anything that comes out of his mouth. That being said, this fight simply has to happen. It's the best two heavyweights in the world with respect to Wilder and the other guys from across the seas. This fight has to happen. I'm looking forward to it. It will be better if the fight obviously takes place with a crowd. So, it ain't going to happen. Probably might not even happen this year. It might be early next year. But yeah, the fight has to happen. And when it does, man, I'm going for AJ to knock Fury's ass out. Yeah, I'm probably in a minority when I say that, man. But I'm not capping. I honestly do think that AJ will have his number. I'm not sure if you're aware over there in the States, but they had a pretty heated sparring session many years ago when AJ was. I think AJ might still have been an amateur.
He's an amateur. He was an amateur.
Yeah.
He was an amateur, and Fury just fought Derek Chisora for the British title.
Right.
I think.
And that was a long time ago. But Tyson Fury was on the record as saying that AJ basically spanked his ass. You know what I mean? And I think that, even though it was a long time ago, I think that AJ is the type of guy, big, he's strong, he can box and he can punch. And I think as long as he goes in there with the right attitude, man, I think he's going to win.
Yeah, let me get in the comments real quick and then Boxing Lowdown coming your way. L-Dub Boxing, what's going on, bro? He says salute, listening in from work. You know it's dedication when you listening from work, man. Appreciate you, brother. Scott 70 tuned in for the show. Scott 70, family of the channel. Big shout out to you. King Louis, what's going on, bro? He says salute, family. Appreciate that.
King Louis, I want to hear as much Wilder comments because you are one of the hardest Wilder fans I know. So I want to hear some
King Louis, you got to
Wilder
bring the smoke. Got to bring the smoke in the comment section, man. Bring it. Boxing Lowdown.
Himself, man.
Boxing Lowdown. Let us know what you thought about the the announcement that the fight was done.
Yeah, great news. Great news. I've been optimistic that it was going to happen. I'm still hopeful that it will be. I know Laurie was saying that it could be next year. I hope not. I think that this needs to happen in the summer.
No.
We need to get. I know what you're saying, but yeah, I think that these two hopefully get it on in the summer or at least later on in the year. It has to happen this year. These two. We've been hearing back and forth like these two going at it in the media for quite some time. Like Fury's been saying he's going to knock him out in 2 rounds. And all we heard about the sparring sessions, but it's time to put up or shut up now, man. We need to get that undisputed heavyweight title fight. And Shane, I'll tell you why I think it will happen in the summer.
No, I said now. I said it needs to happen now. I didn't say no.
Okay, cool.
I said now. It needs to happen now.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think it will happen. And listen, man, I'll tell you what. I believe that Fury would be all wrong for AJ, especially after the way how he looked against Ruiz. I know it's a different style, but the closer we get to it, and you know what? The closer we start to get to this fight, the way how I'm starting to see like AJ in camp and looking sharp and taking it seriously, and then I see Tyson Fury come out a couple of weeks ago on ESPN saying that he's been inactive, already getting in these sort of excuses in. I'm kind of leaning towards AJ as well. I think that AJ could put a hurting on Fury, especially with him being inactive. But if Fury is at his best, it's always wrong to count him out completely. I counted him out against Wilder. I counted him out against Klitschko. He proved me wrong in both fights. So while I'm starting to lean towards AJ more, the threat of Fury is still there. It is still there.
I get that, but the reason why I'll say this to any Fury fan, and I've said this so many times, other than the Wilder fight, you can't win fights on bravado. And all he does is stick his tongue out, put his hands behind his back, all of that herky jerky stuff. That doesn't win you a fight. That doesn't win you a fight. He has to land punches, and other than in the Wilder second fight, he doesn't land enough punches, in my opinion. And AJ is an active fighter. How much punches you land in a round in comparison to how effective and how much punches your opponent lands in a round is what matters. Not whether you can stick your hand out behind your back and do an early shuffle. So that's why I think AJ is gonna win.
Hey, hold on. Hey, Shane, I gotta disagree with one point.
Go
You
ahead.
said putting the tongue out and the hands behind your back don't win a round. Do remember, 2 judges from the Adrian Broner fight gave him round 1 and he didn't land one punch. So don't say it's impossible with these judges.
That wasn't just one round, bro. I mean, that was one of the worst decisions I've seen. He did not win that fight.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, tell the truth.
Hold on, hey, Boxing Lowdown, how did you score that?
You know what? It got so boring. I didn't even bother scoring it in. I was scored the first few rounds, but then after a while, I was just like, you know what, man? I'm not even going to do this to myself. I'm just going to watch it, and whatever happens, happens. I mean, I did think that Santiago won the fight, in my opinion. I don't think it was as much of a robbery as Laurie says, but I do think that Santiago did enough. Broner, as we know, he just doesn't let his hands go enough, man. He's got the talent even now, but he just doesn't let his hands go. There's like a mental block in there that's preventing him from doing it, even against Santiago, an opponent he was supposed to look good against.
Yeah, listen, I predicted he was going to knock him out.
The only AB about that fight was about bullshit.
I saw another one that said about blocking. Literally, all he put up was that high
guard. Let me get in the comments real quick. Hold on a second.
That was a kid from BBC.
Yeah, Toshi, what's going on? He said Wilder froze himself out. Yeah,
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a second. My bro, Boxing First Vlog, BFV, what's happening, fellas? This is the other host we were talking about, Laurie. We got to get him on.
Okay.
There he goes already.
There he goes. He said Fury is a fucking cheater. We'll get to that.
Let's get everybody's opinion on that.
Hold on. Let me get to the rest of this. Let me get to the rest of this real quick. He said that fight was a draw. Is he talking about he got to be
Broner Santiago.
He got
okay. You know what? I hope I'm not preempting anything here, right? But
no,
I've been doing this for a while. Daryl's my son, and we talk about boxing on a daily basis almost. And Daryl will tell you, I'm not being wise after the event. But that first fight, I didn't have a problem with a draw because Fury won more rounds. But
I think Vlog's talking about Santiago and Broner, that one.
He's talking about Santiago and Broner.
No, I was going to say that in that first fight, man, I thought Wilder should have had a knockout win. That judge was
You told me that. You told me that straight away after the fight. You told me that. That's true. You told me that.
Fury was on the floor. He didn't get up for 13 seconds. But anyway, that's how it goes.
So when it comes to, can I address the cheating comment? And I want to get Lowdown's opinion because you probably heard this 100 times with your channel. When it comes to the, what's it called? The cheating thing. I don't mind subscribing to the fact that maybe Fury he got some form of advantage. I don't even care. The first fight's the first fight. I haven't seen any form of cheating in the second fight. I thought Fury just absolutely pummeled Wilder. And addressing Toshi's comment about Wilder froze himself out. I don't feel he froze himself out. I just feel like he was just unlucky. I feel like he was unlucky.
Well, when you say about Fury being a cheat, he is a cheat. And I'm not even talking about the second fight. He's a drugs cheat. You know what I mean? And that's certified. So he's capable of cheating. So the problem I have with what Wilder has said is that so much of what he said cannot be proved. The problem with him talking about the floppy gloves and the egg weights and stuff like that. Listen, we all know boxing is a very dirty sport, man. Some weird ass things happen, man. I mean, we've seen it over the years with loaded gloves, allegations against all manner of fighters. I'm even hearing a lot of stuff at the moment about Trinidad. People are saying that he was legendary for stacking his gloves.
Oh, so, don't ruin the legacy of Trinidad, man.
Huh?
I've heard that as well.
A lot of people are coming out now and saying that he used loaded gloves when he was fighting. Now, listen, again, we cannot say that categorically because he never got caught. But there have been fighters that have been caught. For example, Margarito, to name but one, in the Billy Collins fight, Luis Resto. So we know that this type of stuff goes on. And a lot of the stuff that Wilder's alleging, some of it may well be true. But the problem is you cannot prove it. So you can't be retrospective after fights and say, well, actually, yeah, the glove looks a bit floppy. So that proves he was cheating. It would have to have been caught at the time. And then the other stuff with him being poisoned, I just can't have that. I just can't
Go
have
ahead,
that.
Lowdown. I see you crush. Shake
Go
your
ahead,
head.
Lowdown. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Even that is not beyond the question. You know what I mean? And people have been accusing people of poisoning before. I mean, I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but when Vladimir Klitschko lost to Ross Purity many, many years ago, that's what he said. When he got beat, he said that he'd been poisoned the night before. You know what I mean? George Foreman said that he was poisoned when he lost to Ali. So these types of excuses are nothing new.
Listen, man, until
proven, so we can't use.
Listen. Until I see some sort of, all I'm hearing is chat. All I'm hearing is waffle. I'm just seeing like a few channels get onto it, talking about it, but we've been going on about this for so long now about, you know, the cheating allegations and whatever. And look, I'll listen to that if you provide some sort of evidence or some sort of factual information. Where's the document piece? Have you brought this to the commission? Like, what's actually going on with this? I mean, first of all, after he lost, the real excuse was with to do with his suit, how it weighed him down, how it did all this. And then all of a sudden it moved on to Fury. Then all of a sudden it moved on to the trainer. And I'm just like, look, man, we're just hearing a lot of talk. And I'm open to hearing it, but let's see what you've got. Let's see the evidence. I'm not ruling it out completely because, like Laurie said, this has happened in the past. And Fury has been accused in the past of having like tampering with the gloves and tampering with the wraps in sparring. There is hardcore evidence of that. But until we see some like sort of evidence, all I'm hearing is waffle. And until then, I can't take that seriously.
Hold on, I just want to let y'all know I got on 20-pound sweatpants right now, and my hat is 5 pounds right now during this live. So Wilder's not the only one that's working
What's
with
your
weight.
thoughts on it, Jeff?
At this point, he had a floppy glove in the first fight. And it wasn't no pictures or anything like that. I seen they did a replay of the fight on ESPN. Andre Ward, Tim Bradley, and those guys, they were reviewing the first fight. And I think it was the 9th round when Tyson Fury landed that lead left hook, straight right hand, Deontay Wilder leg buckled. Andre Ward specifically said, hey, that's an illegal shot. That's an open slap. And that was live on TV. No still frame, no nothing, no altered pictures, none of that. So you could tell that it's something with the glove. He likes it big. Like it seems like he likes that left glove big. I don't know what it is exactly, but as far as the second fight is concerned, like I didn't see anything, and it's been over a year. I'm at a point where unless you file some type of charges, legal charges, or
That's what I'm saying.
you're gonna sue somebody. At this point, it's kind of like what's the end goal? And I'm like, as far as being poisoned, you know, like the water being spiked, I'm like, who told you the water was spiked? If the water was spiked, how did you know Breland did it? On top of that, your drug test came back clean. After the fight, you went to the hospital after the fight. You can find out if your water was, you know, tampered with. That's no different than like a date rape drug. It's no different than a date rape drug. The hospital can put a test out and find out if your drink was spiked and if your body was affected. So VADA, negative test. The hospital didn't say anything, and then the whole water spiking thing didn't come till months after. So it's just, I'm not saying that nothing happened. What I'm saying is, as far as the water being spiked, I'm like, only a doctor can tell you that. A doctor or a facility can tell you that. Unless you come to me some paperwork. Unless you show me some paperwork.
Let me tell you the difference.
You got some comments, though. You got some comments.
We're
from the UK, okay?
Right.
Let me tell you the difference between Wilder and AJ. AJ had that fight in New York with Ruiz. He got beat up. He got knocked out. He took his licks like a man. He didn't make any excuses. He got back in the gym, announced that he wanted the rematch. When he announced he wanted the rematch, ask Daryl, ask Shane. A lot of people in the UK, this side of the pond, would say, no, that's a bad move. If you go in there again with him, he's going to do the same thing. Lots of people were saying that. I was saying, that man aged. That's why I've got so much respect for this man. He locked himself away. He got himself in shape. He exercised the rematch clause. And you saw what he did in the rematch. He beat Ruiz. And he's never made an excuse about that first fight. Not even to this day. He just, when people were trying to offer him excuses, people were saying, oh, you didn't look yourself, which he didn't. Some people were saying, oh, you could have been poisoned. There's big rumors going around. I even have got friends of mine who were in the boxing game who said that they heard that AJ got either knocked out or knocked down in sparring a couple of weeks before the fight. And he was discombobulated and not feeling, they reckon he might have been concussed going into the Ruiz fight, the first fight. The man never made no excuses. He just got on with his team, got his rematch, and got the revenge. That's what you do. That's what Wilder should have done.
Let me get in these comments real quick before they tell me off. BoxingFirst Vlog, he said both fights. I'm assuming he's saying Fury cheated in both fights. Chris G, what's going on, bro? He said 10 rounds to 2, Fury versus Wilder. 1 was definitely not a draw. He also said the crazy part is that Fury didn't need to cheat, but he may have. Let me see. Chris G, sorry, bro, but they all on steroids. These days, it's easy to pass any drug test. It depends on if it's VADA or not, but we'll get to that in a second. Scott, let's see. Fury's problem in an AJ fight is that he will have to submit to more rigorous drug testing than he did in both Wilder fights. Let me just get through the rest of these. There's a lot of them. He said he said boxing Lowdown is on something, or the waffling got him froze out. I'm gonna let you respond to that. Hold on. YSM, send me a link. Yeah, it's about to get crazy in here. I got you, bro. He said, I don't want to say about all this shit, but it should be investigated. It wasn't investigated at all. And he said, I don't know. So we got a lot to
Lowdown, go on. Go straight to
Lowdown, just go.
Yeah, I think BFE's agree with me. All that waffling that Wilder and the team were doing, man, it was waffle. Like, I'm open to it. I'm open. If you're presenting something and saying that, look, man, this happened, you know, like present some sort of evidence. You can't just say it and then all of a sudden expect everyone to believe it without no factual evidence. I remember when the second Wilder Fury fight finished, and a lot of the clips that I was seeing were actually from the first fight. So I'm just like, okay, well, they're not exactly. They're saying he got cheated in the rematch, but I'm seeing clips of the glove from the first fight. So I'm like, okay, so what's the actual situation here with the second one? So then the second one. Go on.
No, go on. I'll go on. Finish.
Yeah. So for me, that was a bit dodgy. And then I'm just saying, look, it's all good talking about it and presenting it, but months and months are going on. We're not seeing any sort of like files or any tests or anything sent to the Nevada Commission or anything like that. We're not seeing any this could lead to, if this was actually the case, then what would you do in that situation? Laurie, if you was my trainer and we were accused somebody of cheating like that, where it could have caused me physical damage, we're looking to sue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where's all the lawsuits? Where's all we're just seeing is talk on YouTube, man.
This is the truth, yeah. The truth is, yeah, in my opinion, and I'll keep it 100. The problem started with the fans. It didn't even start with Wilder. It started with the fans. The reason why I say that is because they followed the fighter so blindly that when he lost, all of a sudden, up was down and down was up. Their whole entire view of reality was spun because they couldn't see that happening. And the truth is, Wilder didn't even say anything for the first month or so. He didn't say anything other than his suit was heavy. To me, I just feel like fans who are saying this, to me, haven't watched enough boxing. Because if you think that you're gonna get, as Jeff always says, if you're in another person's backyard, there is no way you're gonna get away with all of the stuff that's going on. It's impossible. It's impossible. That means the commission, who is an American-based commission, is gonna be in favor of a British fighter. It doesn't even make sense. And the WBC is gonna be in favor of Fury. And then, as Jeff always says, Fury's never made a title defense. So why would they gamble on Fury being their champion instead of Wilder, who's been their champion for like 10 consecutive fights? Bro, I don't see it.
If I agree with that, to be honest, I'm not so sure if I agree with that, because
what did you say?
Bob Arum was involved in promoting that show, and he wasn't riding for Wilder, was he? He was riding.
Yeah, but Bob Arum, but we already know that Al Heyman and Mauricio Suleiman's affiliation is stronger than Bob Arum and Mauricio Suleiman's affiliation. We already know that. That's a fact. That's a fact. Bob Arum, in fact, this stems back to when Don King and Mauricio Suleiman's father was in that kind of cahoots from in the 90s and the 80s and stuff like that. So we already know.
But listen, like Daryl said, I think, to be honest with you, it's all of this talk is redundant. Unless you've got proof, you cannot retrospectively change the outcome of a fight. So,
hold on, Laurie, real quick, Laurie. Okay. King Louis said it's photos and videos for both fights. Listen, let me speak on that real quick. There's a lot of video floating around. There's a lot of photos floating around. There's a lot of people that have a lot of different opinions on this issue. My point is this: if you have the proof, if you have, they said there's a 205-page PowerPoint presentation and all of this stuff. All of that's cool. But if for Wilder, I'm saying for Wilder, right? If Wilder was at a point where he has a permanent dent in his head, right? Shaped like an egg weight, correct? Shaped like an egg weight, right? A person had loaded gloves or cheated in both fights where your life has been affected. I'm at a point where if you're saying all of those things, one of three things got to happen. I'm like, number one, it has to be some type of lawsuit. Like somebody got to get sued. That's number one. Number two, you have to be petitioning for some criminal charges to be filed. That's number two. And number three, all that can't be happening, and then you're still trying to negotiate a third fight. Like it's beyond boxing at that point. And that's the point I try to make to people. It's beyond boxing at that point. Because if somebody does that to me, I'm either gonna see you in court or I'm gonna see you in the street. Like it's one of the two. Like it's not like you're not gonna put a permanent dent in my head and we talking about purse splits for the next fight. So it's like I have a problem with it from a not only from a fan perspective, but from a man perspective. I'm like, you can't have it both ways. Like I don't think you can have it both ways.
Interrupt there, Jeff. Or you could do what Miguel Cotto did. Now he accused Margarito of stacking the gloves when they fought. Remember that fight?
Right.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. So what did Cotto do? I remember in the run-up to that fight, he actually produced a laptop or an iPad. And he was saying to Cotto, he said, listen, this is me thinking that you cheated. But he goes, you know what, it's all right, because fight night, I get my chance to get my revenge. And he did that. And the reason why Cotto went down that road is because he knew that it was retrospective. He couldn't prove that Margarito did it because obviously it's after the event. But what he did is he got his rematch and he sorted it in the ring. And that's why I agreed earlier with Shane. He had that opportunity to, Shane and Daryl, when they were saying he froze himself out. He had the opportunity to get his get back in the ring. Don't forget, this is a man.
Ask your question, Laurie.
This is a man. Hang on 1 second. This is a man, Wilder, even though I'm a fan of his, but he's on the record as telling people he wants to catch a body in the ring. So my thing is, why didn't you catch Fury's body in the ring in the third fight?
That's what I was going to ask. Whose fault is it? Because I blame either Al Heyman or Shelley Finkel. One of them dropped the ball when it came to that third fight. I have a theory that they personally didn't believe that Wilder was going to win that third fight, so they let the contract run down. To me, I'm just surprised how one of them still have a job, because that there should be a third fight announced, signed, sealed, delivered, but it's not, and it's radio silence from that camp. So whose fault is it that that third fight didn't happen, in your opinion? And why do you think it didn't happen as well? Do you agree with that Bob Arum statement that the contract ran down and all of that stuff?
Anyway, let's move on, man. I want to start cooking on some of these other guys. Like,
Yeah, let me answer that.
Sorry. You know what's disappointing about this whole, before we move on, is that I'm actually a big fan of Wilder. He's one of my favorite guys to watch in the ring.
We love him over here. We love him. We don't
watching
want to
him.
get that misconstrued. Like, we love Wilder. We love Wilder. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, that's just it's not. I just want to see him back in the ring. There's some great fights for him to be made.
Yes.
All of this other stuff.
Can I just say as well, right? And this is why I disagree with a lot of those guys in the LDBC. Daryl is absolutely right. There's even a lot of white guys I know that like Wilder. White guys I know that wanted Wilder to beat Fury. There's a lot of people over here don't like Tyson Fury. Trust me, they don't.
That's what I was saying to Jeff, bro.
It's not very popular.
People, remember I was telling you before that even if Fury beats AJ, they will still prefer AJ than Fury. It's just the way it is. There's a lot of
There's a lot of jealousy with Tyson Fury and the people who follow him, a lot in the traveler community, because the way they see it, AJ gets preferential treatment. Now, the reason why AJ gets preferential treatment is not down to race, because trust me, the racism in the UK is just as bad as you guys over there. But anyway, that's another story. But the reason is that Fury said a lot of things that's pissed people off, and he just doesn't conduct himself in the right way.
And he's a boring fighter.
AJ is very popular. He's very popular, especially amongst youngsters. So, you know what I mean? Just want to put that out there.
You got a couple comments, Jeff.
Yeah, I gotta get my guy YSM in here. He done hit the phone and the email up. Hold on, let me get him the link real quick. And you know what?
Go on.
And the thing about Fury, like, nobody's saying Fury is clean. Like, Fury is far from clean. Like, from who he's affiliated with to the prior drug issues and I openly admit I'm like, it was a floppy glove in the first fight.
How dirty he fight? He's a dirty fighter,
and he's a dirty fighter. So nobody's saying he's clean. Nobody's saying he's.
The thing about that, Jeff, is right. If the Americans knew that he was fighting with a floppy glove in the first fight, why didn't they raise that for the second fight? Why, when Jay Diaz inspected his gloves, why was there no mention of that? And that's the problem me and Daryl keep going back to. It's okay saying these things after the fight, but you had your opportunity to raise these things before the fight and nothing was said. Now let's be honest, man, he got battered in that fight from pillar to post. And that's another reason why people are not taking Wilder's claims seriously, because he got so badly beaten that people are finding it hard to give him not even a scintilla of sympathy, because they're saying, well, boy, you're coming out with this, now you've been battered. So, Listen, man, I'm a big fan of Wilder. So is Daryl. I'm sure
we love him.
But
Wilder's dope. Wilder's dope.
Yeah, we love Wilder. We love Wilder.
Can't this stuff unless we see the proof.
Let me get to these comments real quick. Ephraim Molina, what's going on? How do you get a dent on your head and have no surgery? I thought bones cracked, not bend. We'll get to that in a moment. King Louis, I agree. I don't like how he moving. My point on the whole situation is not favored by no one. Wilder fumbled this. Can't blame Al or Fury. Let me get to this last comment. YSM is in here. He said, what are your feelings on the NBC card? Looks half decent. Vargas Jr., couple others on the card. Poses scream to Twitch. I'll get to that in a moment. Let me get my guy in here. My bro, what's going on with you?
Stop ducking me, Shane. I gotta chase him down.
Hold on.
I gotta chase him down, Jeff.
Hey, YSM, go ahead and do your thing, bro. Go ahead.
All right. Hey, Jeff, I sent the link to Shido too. I think he just hopped on.
He in here too. I'm gonna let him get his.
Okay, so I caught a little bit of what the conversation was.
Mm-hmm.
first, I do remember AJ making excuses. I remember him calling the overhand right that Andrew Ruiz hit him with a punch from the gods, a lucky punch. That wasn't a lucky punch. It was a counter right
That's
hand.
not really an excuse, though. That's more. That's not really an excuse. That's not really an excuse.
Calling, there you go, Shane. Calling an overhand right a lucky punch, a timed overhand right, not a lucky punch.
I wouldn't say it's an excuse. It's
VSM.
Yeah, he got hit with a shot. But
VSM, I remember he clarified that. He clarified that because that was. I remember when that happened, and what he said was he didn't say that was an excuse. He said that was, you know, like he was on top in the fight. You know, he had Andy Ruiz down, and then he said that the punch for him, obviously he didn't see it, but what he meant was it came out of nowhere. That's why he said it was from the gods. I don't think he used that as an excuse.
I remember the context that he used it in. I'm just saying, calling an overhand right, a timed overhand right when you are opening yourself up is not a punch from the gods. It's not a lucky punch. It's a well-timed shot from a fast inside fighter. As far as the Fury situation goes, we all know what Tyson Fury is, right? Tyson Fury is a dirty fighter. He's a dirty fighter.
We all said that, bro. We said that.
He's not the first dirty fighter, and he's not going to be the last. Fighters and athletes are going to bend the rules as much as possible. Tyson Fury, you know, might just more than most. As far as the floppy gloves, Ricky Hatton kind of already came out and said Tyson Fury likes a loose left glove for palming.
Yo, hold on. YSM, I didn't know that. Shane, have I not been saying that for months?
I've just been saying that from the start.
I've been saying that from the start. I'm like, it's something with that left glove. I don't know if he likes it big. Like, I don't know what it is, but YSM, go ahead. I just wanted to add that real quick. Go ahead.
He likes Ricky Hatton said he likes a loose left glove for snapping the jab, for kind of like palming, you know, hitting with the palm. And it's a couple of things he does with it. So his own old trainer came out and said that. So I don't even know why that's a big deal as far as with the Fury fans pointing at Wilder, the LDBC, calling him crazy. The trainer admitted it. As far as the spiking, I don't know if it happened. I wasn't there. I can't say it did. I can't say it didn't. Is spiking something real in boxing? Of course it is. If you know your history.
Right.
It's something that you have to watch out for, but I can't really speculate. I just know that who's Fury's managed by gives me question marks, and Fury's history with bending the rules and breaking the rules gives me question marks about what actually happened that night. But
the thing is, YSN, if I could just pop in briefly, my name's Laurie. Right,
pleasure to meet you, bro.
Nice one, man. Respect you. Respect all you. What I would say, listen, I agree with much of what you say, but the problem is that this is all retrospective. It's not going to change nothing. So unless Wilder was able to come up with evidence at that time or within a certain time frame, all of this talk that he did, that the fans did, that the LDBC, that we're doing now, is all redundant because, you know what I mean? It's not going to change the result. Unfortunately for him, it's not going to do anything.
I was going to make my last point before you interjected.
Okay.
All of this stuff, right? With everything I'm saying that is possibly true or could have possibly happened. Guess whose fault is it?
Wilder's.
Deontay Wilder and his team.
Yeah.
If you are going up against a cheater, you have to be prepared for. It's not the first time you heard of Tyson Fury cheating. So you have to be prepared. You have to have every possible contingency plan for dealing with an opponent.
Yeah.
If the wraps were loaded, it's JD's job. If the water was spiked, you hired Mark Breland.
Facts.
So at the end of the day, I wanted to see a third fight, and I blame Wilder for what happened. But I still think
YSM, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
YSM, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, Shane.
Although I know you're calling me out all the time, I don't know what for, but it's all love. Either way, I have one question. I actually want a genuine answer because I actually don't know. Whose fault is it that the third fight didn't happen? That's all I want to know. I don't know whose fault it is. Why did the third fight not happen?
It's Tyson Fury.
Why? How come the third fight wasn't made or pushed from anybody's team? Like, it just seemed like he was able to weeble his way out of that fight. I don't know why.
All right, I'll give you like a short synopsis because the same thing happened to Tevin Farmer and Jojo Diaz, right? So the rematch was supposed to happen in July, but COVID, that was the time restraints. So COVID happened, and per clause in the contract, it pushed it to October. But Bob and Al obviously wanted fans. They didn't want it. They made a $17 million gate. So they tried to push it back, thinking that fans were going to be allowed. They wanted it in Allegiant Stadium in Vegas in December. Okay, so while they fine-tuned that date, they brought it to the networks. Fox and ESPN said no because of football. So once they said no, they gave them a date in January and a possible date in February that they could have the fight. Tyson Fury said, nah, I'm going to just go ahead and try to have another fight.
But how come he was able, because if I've contractually obligated you to a fight, how are you able to get out of that fight without like losing your belt or whatever? I don't know.
Well, the belt that has no relevance. Oh shit! I'm sorry.
You still there, bro?
Yeah, I apologize. The belt has no relevance in this particular negotiation. It's because the clause in the contract said if something were to happen, the fight has to happen in October. But in the negotiation of good faith, Al and Bob both pushed it back, trying to get fans in the stands in December. And when December came, both the networks, mind you, that's Fury's and Wilder's, didn't want to have it at that particular date because they didn't want to lose any viewership to the SEC championships in college football and actual NFL football. So they wanted to push it back in January.
I didn't know that. That's good to know. I did not know that. Everything you told me, I did not know.
Hold on, YSM. Let me ask you a quick question about the spiking thing, and I'm gonna get Shido in here. I know YSM. I know we talked about the whole Breland and spiking thing and all that, and it was like at times Breland looked like he was trying to do damage to Wilder, but it looked like he did just as much damage to himself and his own reputation than Wilder. In terms of the water spiking, I'm leaning towards him not doing it. And I used this analogy before. I'm like, I've never seen a shooter shoot somebody and then call the ambulance for the person they shot. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm like, if he spiked his water, you have to have some cruel intent to spike somebody's water. He's going to be the person that spiked the water is going to be the last person to throw the towel in. And do I have a solid point there, brother?
It is a solid point, and I shared those sentiments early on. I didn't think that he did it. What honestly made me look at Breland a little sideways is the Spencer Fearon interview, him going on a platform that was pro MTK Global, obviously because of Spencer, being the head of their foundation. Right after the Daniel Kinahan news drops. That gave me pause.
YSM, I'm glad you said that. Laurie's here, and Laurie knows Spencer personally. Laurie, do you feel like knowing Spencer Fearon personally?
Wait, Shane, the Messiah of boxing, remember that comment? But throw that.
Listen,
do you think Wilder, knowing Fearon and how Fearon's mentality is, do you feel like he will be in favor of Fury and the MTK fighter, or would he be in favor of boxing, or would he be in favor of Wilder? Knowing Spencer Fearon, that's an open question. You can answer however you want.
Well, I'd answer it by saying this. I've known Spencer for many years, right? I've known him from he was a professional fighter himself, actually. And I also know Spencer to be a man that is very pro-black culture. I want to get that out there right now. But then it has also to be said, as YSM touched on, is that he has got a conflict of interest because he is, to all intents and purposes, being employed at the moment by MTK Global. So I wouldn't really like to say, but listen, man, Spencer's a stand-up guy that I know of. I've spoken to him, you know what I mean? Darren, my son's spoken to him as well. I really wouldn't like to say too much more than that, you know what I mean? Because the Spencer I know is a stand-up guy, put it that way. So
what show was it on? Whose show was it on? Just to clarify that, whose show was it on?
What do you mean?
The channel that Brilliant done. Who runs Stamina for Sale?
Tunde Ajayi, the fight is right. It's on that show, isn't it?
The channel is him.
Tunde Ajayi.
Yeah.
Does Tunde Ajayi have any affiliation with MTK Global, who owns the channel? That's all my question is.
But I'm not really sure what point you're trying to make, but
because there's this thesis that because Breland went on an MTK Global channel and done that interview with MTK Global people, that all of a sudden there's some form of wider conspiracy behind that and the Daniel Kinahan.
I mean, Shane, you can direct those questions. You can direct those questions to me, Shane. You ain't gotta go. You can direct them to me, bro.
The reason why I'm saying that is because, bro, Anthony Yard's trainer Tunde Ajayi, who runs Stamina for Sale and runs that channel has nothing to do with MTK Global, so it would be quite conflicting for there to be for him to go on that channel specifically. That's my point.
Shane, my point to you is this, and it's very clear, and it's very clear and concise. Shane, you do not find it odd that a couple of days after the documentary about Daniel Kinahan drops, that Mark Breland comes out with this interview after being silent for a year, goes on a platform where the head of the foundation, MTK Global Foundation, is on. You don't find that odd in the timing of it. I'm not accusing anybody of anything.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Hey, Shane. As far as the timing of it, he did say he manipulated the situation in terms of the time. He did say that.
Come on.
Of course.
He did.
But that's got nothing. But that, to me, I'm still struggling to see how that's got anything to do with MTK Global. I understand that, but I still don't see how that's got anything to do with MTK
Hold on,
Global.
hey Shane, but I think YSM is saying it's the public perception, the look. Sometimes the look can be more damaging than what's actually going on. I think YSM is that where you going with that, brother?
I'm saying it's not a good look. It's the look.
It's the look, right?
Regardless,
it's the look.
I'm not necessarily accusing anybody of anything. I'm saying that at first I didn't believe it. I'm like, that wouldn't happen. I don't think it happened. But then I see how you're moving in a certain time frame with people who are accused of certain things. It just didn't. Yeah, it was just the timing of it. And I don't know if it was.
I saw that interview, and I have to say, man, that was a car crash. It didn't do it. Breland did not come out well. And that is why, if you notice, that after that, Breland had to issue a written statement, which clarified his position. Because I watched that interview. The guy was... The guy was...
That, but YSM...
Really bad. No, I'm just going to say that he came across really badly, man. I mean, when
everybody on this platform...
No, hang on.
Everybody on this... Go on.
I'm saying that it was a car crash of an interview as far as Mark Breland was concerned. He came out of it looking really bad. Now, that's not to say that he did what he was accused of, but even down to the questions like, did you tamper with the water? He said, I've never given him water. Then pictures came out later showing him doing just that. And even his denial, his rebuttals just didn't, you know what I mean? He just came wrong. So
I get that, but
looking at that, we're entitled to feel a certain way, to be honest. But did he tamper with the water? I'd like to think not, put it that way. No one really knows. And this is what I'm saying. There's no proof.
I get that, but everybody on this platform, including you, YSM, because you interview people every single week.
Yes.
You know, when you're interviewing someone, the whole entire point of interviewing is to get a headline. That's the whole point. Yeah. So when I'm asking questions, I'm probing. So me personally, someone who isn't media trained, like Mark Breland, it's very easy to make you sound guilty when you speak, especially when someone who is media trained is asking you questions and you say stuff that's obviously going to provoke certain theories because I'm asking you a question. Obviously, no matter what I say in the answer, other than a categoric no, then it's always going to provoke thought all the time. So obviously, when I'm asking a question, it's going to be very difficult for Mark Breland to sound good about it when he's not media trained.
Oh, why is some? Let me get at that real quick. As far as Mark Breland is concerned, when you got to come out with a 5-page like follow up on your interview, like that's a problem. Like you can tell that a lot of the things that he said it shedded negative light on himself, because if a fighter doesn't want to listen, you don't even have his phone number, and he becomes untrainable. I was like, even though you weren't the primary trainer, you were there for the ride the entire time. You were there for the ride the entire time. He did just as much damage to himself as he did to Wilder. If you ask me, he did more damage to himself than he did Wilder. Now when he followed up, he was more clear. It looked like he had time to think about it.
That's my point, bro. That's my point, bro. Because remember, when he's on the spot, especially when someone's told you that you're not going to be speaking about Wilder, it's very difficult for you to answer. He's not media trained. So I'm glad you just said what you said.
Hey, Jeff,
that's true.
Jeff,
go ahead, Bison. Go ahead.
Real fast, Jeff. I just want Shane to acknowledge just a couple of things, right? Because
Go ahead.
Shane, you're so biased. It's crazy. Shane,
who am I biased towards? Who am I biased towards? I'm struggling to see.
This sense, in this particular sense, to the whole Mark Breland situation. I'm just asking you, is it odd? You don't find it odd? He could have went on ESPN, could he have not? He could have went on Fox.
And I told you why he went to Spencer Fury. I told you why he went to Spencer Fury.
He chose this particular platform, even though it's going to have the view that he's being, I'm not going to say that he's being shady, but it gives that vibe, bro.
I'll chime in. Hold on. Let Lowdown get in, and then I gotta get to the comments, and then I gotta let Shido get his in. Go ahead, Lowdown. Go ahead, bro.
Listen, man, some good opinions expressed from both sides. YSM, I agree with some parts of what you're saying. Shane, I agree with some parts of what you're saying. But there's a comment here that I'm looking at. Jeff, you can bring it up. It's from Sule. He's put, if MTK Global wanted to give Breland the biggest platform, wouldn't they do it with IFL, which is, of course, the biggest platform for MTK?
Hold on.
That's true, but that's directly tied to MTK.
That's owned by MTK. That's owned by
MTK, like IFL.
I said that would be like you might as well put up neon lights and said Mark Breland was paid off.
Listen, I agree. I think Breland came out of that interview with Spencer Fury, and I didn't like how some of the stuff he was saying either, man. That's why he had to clarify in the statement on his Instagram page a couple of days later, because for me, some of the comments that he was making on that show, I mean, it's all good saying about being media trained, but no one's telling you what to say. He still let those words come out of his mouth. I still saw him say things like, I'd beat AJ, or say things like, like about Wilder, disrespecting comments about him not being a good fighter. But I'm like, if you trained him, doesn't that look bad on you? So it's all good you got manipulated into saying things.
I'm just talking about the MTK Global.
You're still an intelligent man. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just talking about the MTK
Global. Can I just make this point? It's a very important point.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
My understanding of this as well, and it was said by both Breland and by Spencer, is that initially, when he was tapped up for the interview, Mark Breland said he didn't want to talk about Wilder. He wouldn't be asking any questions about Wilder. And then he gets on there and he starts talking about Wilder. The very thing he said he didn't want to talk about, he spoke about.
That's my point.
But let me add to that. He didn't have to get persuaded.
Yeah.
Shane, and that's the point. I know I understand what you're saying as far as the media stuff and all that, but he wasn't persuaded to talk about it. If you actually listen to the interview, Mark Breland came out and started talking about it. Like he wasn't asked anything. So I understand what you're saying, Shane, but when it comes down to it, he actually started it.
Fair enough.
He actually started it.
Fair enough.
He actually started it.
You got comments.
Hold on, I gotta get to the comments. Let me get to the comments real quick, and then I gotta get Shido in here. King Louis, Wilder bogus for that. Mark Breland shit though. Accused the man of high treason, and because Mark a little sour because he's human act like a victim that some Karen shit. Hold on. BoxingFirst Vlog said he's bored. I know you lying. This shit is fire. Cuzzy TV, the drug test proves everything. What are we even talking about? We'll get to that in a second. BoxingFirst Vlog, I agree. Cuzzy TV, what does an interview have to do with spiked water? I'll answer that myself. Sule, if MTK Global wanted to give Breland,
I've never seen him before, by the way.
Sule got to be new. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Laurie, AFTV, YSM, everybody you can find on this darn live. Subscribe to everybody.
With that comment there, has he not?
Yeah, if MTK Global wanted to give Breland the biggest platform, wouldn't they do an interview with IFL TV and Coogan? That's a good point. That's
but
a good
I agree
point.
with what YSM said as well, though, because that's true.
No,
that you might
YSM bought that smoke when he hit my cell phone and said I need parts. I knew it was going to be good, so I had to let him in. King Louis said Wilder said he felt funny going in the ring. Wilder also said Mark Breland was the only one handling his water when his video with Jay giving him water before the fight. I'll get to that as well. Sule, don't ignore the fact Mark Breland went on Lion Killer podcast 3 months ago and he didn't talk about Deontay Wilder because they didn't ask him about Wilder.
I didn't even know that.
Let me quickly respond to that. Sule, when he went on that podcast, he wasn't promoting the book at the time, but I'll get to that in a second. Sule,
Right.
Mark Breland specifically told them no Wilder talk. Tunde asked Wilder questions anyway. When Breland went on Lion Killer podcast and had the same no Wilder talk request, they respected it. Tunde and them respected it too. Breland the one that started talking all that. My guy Will Stokes in the building. He said, "Big up to everybody on the panel."
Good, Will? What's happening, bro?
Cuzzy TV. So we don't go by evidence anymore. You guilty by interviews. Cuzzy, I like your style, man. I'm gonna get to Cuzzy in a minute. Ephraim Molina, Wilder was smearing his name. Breland fired back. That's true.
You know what you should have done? Breland.
He followed back a year later.
Yeah.
Breland should have fired back.
Go ahead,
What did
Laurie.
you say, Laurie? What did you say, Laurie?
Breland should. My man's right in a way. You fire back, but the way to do it is through the courts. If I tell you now, I'm a man of integrity here, and if somebody is accusing me of this egregious act, and it's not true, I'm looking to sue them.
That's
a good point. I got 3 more comments, and then I'm gonna let Bushido go. Boxing Learner, he said, "Good talk, guys." Boxing Learner, big shout out to you. Subscribe to everybody channel too. Boxing Learner, good folks up in here. Sule, he said, "Go back and rewatch the interview. Tunde pulled that Wilder talk out of Breland. It's still up to Breland whether he falls for the trap or not." So Sule, I ain't let you get away with that. Will Stokes said, "Yep, apparently Tunde and Spencer was told by an associate of Breland not to talk about Wilder in the interview, but then Breland brought it up." My bro Bushido Boxing is in the building. Bushido, I appreciate your patience, bro. You've been in here waiting for a minute. What's going on with your family?
What's going on? What's going on?
Shido, go ahead. Speak your piece, brother.
You hear me? You hear me?
I hear you fine, brother. Go ahead.
Yo, you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
The heck?
He might. Yeah, these blackout zones above.
Yo,
yeah, we can hear you, bro.
He came out. As soon as he come back in, I'll let him back in. We got 2 more comments. Sule, not true. Tunde brought up Wilder. That's why when Breland left the interview, Tunde was so happy with himself and made I opened him like a can of sardines comment. He put the bait out there, but he still fell for the trap.
Of course, but that's my point. And this is another thing to YSM, yeah. And I could be so wrong and so biased. I want to support. I like Spencer Fury, and that's why. So that's why I'm going to say this. But you got to remember, when Breland was publicly denounced by Wilder and all of Wilder's fans, the first public figure to defend him was Spencer Fury. So it's only fair that he returns the gesture by going on his channel. That's my point.
Hey, Jeff, this is what Shane doesn't understand. For me, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm saying I found it odd and it made me look at him sideways. Now, if Shane is going to act like he didn't find anything odd about him not coming out after a year of speaking after being slandered by Wilder and all his fans, and a couple of days after the MTK Global thing on that particular platform, if he doesn't find that odd or calculated, then I can't help Shane, man. Maybe he needs to come to Philly and I can teach him a couple things, man.
Bro, maybe I do, bro. But the truth is, I just feel like I don't think, and I have to keep it real, I don't feel like there's enough affiliation between Stamina is Right and MTK Global. But I do get your point about perception. But from my perception, I don't see a link between MTK Global and Stamina for Sale. Me personally.
Shane, here's the thing, and I think I can hit the nail on the head with this one. When it comes down to how Shane is looking at it, and I tell Shane this all the time, it's not easy to put on that hat of an insider. You know what I'm saying? Inside of the sport. Like, you have more information than the common boxing fan or the basic common listener. Where YSM is coming from is the look from the casual fan or the fan that doesn't have that inside information or those inside relationships. So from that person, it looks suspicious. Like and it's the person that's looking at it. It's not necessarily you as an insider. I think we understand what you're saying. And Laurie has inside information as well, but I think YSM is trying to get you to put the lenses on of the casual fan and how it would look to them. You see where I'm going?
The optics didn't look great. I have to agree with YSM on that.
Yeah,
and I agree with Jeff. The optics, regardless of whether we say whether there's a link between them or not, I agree with YSM and I agree with Jeff. The optics of that interview did not look great. This man has not spoken about this for over a year. And then you go on a channel where one of the people on the panel has links to MTK, and then you start denouncing Wilder. It didn't look good.
Is this optics? Is this optics?
I guess I'm out in the ring on this one.
Having said, I don't think in my heart of hearts that had anything to do with any poisoning of water. And if he was poisoned, I don't think that Breland did it, although obviously I don't know. And ultimately, as I said many times before, all of this talk is redundant because there's been no proof offered by the Wilder camp. So it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I need a lawsuit, man. I need a lawsuit, a fight in the street, something. I'm sorry. Shido, hold on. Unmute yourself, player. Shido, me and you gonna fight, bro. We gonna fight. We gonna fight. We really gonna fight. Hey, Shido. I'm a YSM. I promise I'm gonna get Shido on before it's done.
My whole point with this year is like what you guys have been saying, man. I just want, like, where we go. I mean, we could argue about this until, like, what we say in the UK till the cows come home. Do you know what I mean? Right. But we're not really going anywhere with it because right now we've got Joshua and Fury in the midst of being signed.
I was just about to ask that.
We want to see Wilder back in the ring just as much as everybody. I want to see him back in the ring. But this talk about Breland, I thought it was a bit weird when he did come on like a year later and suddenly I thought he was doing the noble act for the year, not saying anything. Then next year he comes out talking greasy. So that was a bit weird for me. But what I will say is, like, at the moment, this ain't going anywhere. Like, I need to, when's Wilder getting back in the ring? Like, we're going to see AJ and Fury fight. Hopefully we see Wilder get it on with somebody. Like, I mean, there was talk about Charles Martin, but for now, yeah, I just don't see, until I see a lawsuit or something, man. I mean, we could argue about this on YouTube.
Hey, Lowdown, hold on. Hey, Lowdown. the way Mark Breland was in the interview, I thought somebody spiked his water. You seen the part where he was doing the hand joints? He was like this.
It was very odd, man. I have to say, it's very odd.
Who do you think wins between AJ and Fury? Because we got everybody else's opinion on it. Who do you think wins between AJ and Fury?
Between AJ and Fury.
AJ. AJ stops him.
See, hold on, Lowdown. Who you got?
I think AJ wins on points. I think AJ wins on points.
Who you got, Lowdown?
You know what? Like I said earlier, I was leaning towards Fury, 55-45 Fury. But the closer we get to it, I'm seeing Fury out of shape. I'm seeing AJ training. And like, I think he's going to use this whole inactivity excuse as possibly like, because he's already kind of letting it out there in the interviews. He's already saying stuff like, I haven't been active. It's not been ideal. But it's like, hold on a minute. You were saying to everybody that AJ was he was saying he was a bum. He said you're going to knock him out in 2 rounds. Why does it matter now about you being inactive? So that's where I'm kind of looking at him thinking this is a totally different
You think he's trying to get AJ to drop the ball when he says that?
No, because like you've already laid your cards out with what you think about AJ. It's not going to change now. The mind games and that are not going to work because you've been saying for years that you think he's a bum and you're going to knock him out in 2 rounds. Your whole family's been gassing you up about it. So there's no point changing now. My man's in the gym training. You're running on the beach, putting on like 3 stone on. You're not looking in great shape. So I just think that like, yeah, the closer we get to it and the way how the demographics are kind of changing, I'm kind of leaning towards AJ, but it's still close, man. Like Fury, for all of his issues and all the thing about Fury, I will say that he can switch it on. Do you know what I mean? He's a fantastic boxer when he can be.
Hold on, Lowdown, real quick. And then Laurie, I'm gonna let you go. Lowdown, I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna convince you that AJ gonna win the fight. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Shane thought Daniel Dubois was gonna beat Joe Joyce, and I had to have a couple conversations with my good brother to convince him that Joe Joyce is gonna win that fight. Shane, is that a fact?
Yeah, but I've never been convinced by Joe Joyce. I've never been convinced by Joe Joyce.
You can't let it go, bro.
But hold on, Shane, you didn't answer the question.
That's unfair, yeah. The reason why that's unfair.
But you didn't answer the question.
Yeah, that's true. But that's the lesser 2 evils. I'm not a fan of neither of those fighters. I don't like neither of those fighters. So
you don't like the
it don't matter to me.
You don't like the
You know what? I'm going to tell you a funny story. I'm going to tell you.
Laurie, go ahead. Tell your story, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, and this is true. Every word of this is true. A couple of years ago, I went to a press event for, I think it was Dillian White was fighting Oscar Rivas. Yeah. And they had an event outside in one of the park near the Tower of London. So the fighters it was in the summer, so they were doing an outdoor workout. So the public.
Jeff, it was when I was working for you, when I got those. Yeah. When I got those.
So I see this guy, a young guy holding court, and he was arguing with about 5-6 other men, and he was saying, "Yeah, don't rate the one." This time, I never knew this guy. You know what I mean? So I looked through the crowd because a little crowd had built up, people going back and forth. Shane was holding court, so I looked through, and there's this young, skinny black guy there. Running his mouth with these guys going back and forth. He's going, I don't rate the war. And then I was like, bro, you don't rate the war. And that's how I actually got to meet Shane. So, yeah, he did get the prediction wrong, but I've got to back him there. He did say from time, to me anyway, and to a lot of other people, that he doesn't really rate the war. So that's
Jeff knows that. Jeff knows that. Jeff knows that.
I know that. Yeah, I know that about Shane, but that's why I was really just, I'm like, yo, I gotta talk him into getting out of this Dubois pick because I know he don't like Dubois like that, and he was still picking Dubois. I'm like, well, damn, I said Joe Joyce ain't that bad.
What's the keys to victory for AJ? How does he beat Fury?
Can I answer that one?
No, because Jeff said he's going to convince me, so I want to.
Let me convince him real quick. So Fury is not good offensively. Like
put YSM on me because I got background on.
I got you. Yo, so Fury's not good offensively. He has a lot of flash, but it's not much substance. If you look throughout his whole career, the Wilder second fight is the only fight he's really gotten off offensively. He does a lot of flash stuff. So with AJ, keys to victory is this. Number one, he has to stay defensively responsible. Like, he has to stay defensively responsible. Number 2, jab to his chest. Jab to his chest, jab to his body, stab jab. The third thing, once AJ gets in the range, when it comes down to it, AJ is the more superior offensive fighter. And a lot of Fury's head movement is muscle memory. It's scripted. Even if you look at his past fights and he's doing all this, he's doing all of that, he's not doing that based off of the punches that's coming. He's doing his dips off of what he does in the gym. He's lucking up really to actually avoid a lot of those shots, because you never see a man that big moving, you know, the top part of his body like that in terms of his head movement and shoulder movement. AJ has enough offensive firepower to where he's going to be winning on the cards halfway through the fight. And the back half of the fight, we haven't seen Tyson Fury have to catch up back half of fights, because a lot of times he bullshit his way into getting ahead on the scorecards. So Fury's going to have to catch up. It's going to leave him open to some shots, and I think that's where AJ is going to cash in this fight.
Do you know what I will say? Do you know what I will say, Jeff? I agree with what you said there. There's some good points you raised. The issue with AJ, though, for me, and listen, I'll keep it real. I want AJ to win. I've said that to everyone, but I'll be as neutral as I am on my channel. But if you were to ask me who I want to win, of course I want to see AJ win. However, the thing that worries me, and anyone can answer this, YSM, Laurie, whoever, the stamina issue is one thing. We've seen AJ, as the rounds go later on, we've seen him kind of let go with the stamina a little bit, where he's been struggling at times. I mean, I know it's improved a bit, but there's been times where he's struggled later on in fights. That's one thing. The second thing is the Ruiz fight. What did that really take out of him? Has he gone a bit gun-shy? I know he knocked out Pulev in his last fight, but there were times in that fight where he had Pulev going, and the older AJ would have finished him. But this AJ here in particular, kind of like, he was more conservative, which you get when you get older. You know, he's in his 30s now. He's not in his 20s where he's just laying a man out. But what if, like, Fury adopts different tactics? What if he adopts the tactics that he had in the first Klitschko fight or the first Wilder fight? He would have to be on the front foot then. Will those sort of angles give AJ? Yeah, anyone can answer it. Yeah.
The reason why I feel like, I'm glad you said that, and one of the keys to victory, and me and Jeff always say this, is if you're going after someone and someone ain't throwing no punches, if you dominate that center of that ring and they're not landing any punches, you can't buy into the bravado. The problem what Wilder done was, and Klitschko, they chased Fury, and that's what happened. They made Fury look so much better. But if you're going to the body from early, banging that drum early, because you can't move your body. If you're going to the body from early, that fight is going to slow down as well. Fury's going to slow down, and it's very hard to dodge body shots. So to me, if I'm AJ, I'm going I wouldn't even be focusing on the head for the first 3 rounds. I'll literally change my dimensions. So I'll literally from tipped over like Andrade, just pounding that body the whole entire fight, pounding the body. At some point, Fury's going to have to step forward. He's going to have to meet you. I would even chase him.
Oh, hey Shane, let me ask you this real quick. I not say this all the time. When you give a boxer a strategy, you have to make sure that they're able to carry out what you actually telling them to do, right?
Fact. So
with AJ, when is the last time you seen him just focus all body work for several rounds?
Povetkin.
Okay,
so after the first round of Povetkin, all he done was jab to the body and then literally stayed low because the overhand right was clipping him all fight. So he literally stayed lower and started to go after the body.
Hey Shane, if you said that to somebody else, you'd have got away with that shit. But this me though, you're not gonna get away with that. Was the Povetkin fight not before the Andy Ruiz knockout?
Of course.
Right. So we're talking AJ post Andy Ruiz. Have you seen AJ? Have you seen AJ in the second Andy Ruiz fight and the Pulev fight? Have you seen him fight in that fashion for him to get that close to really be banging the drum? Huh?
But it doesn't mean he can't.
Right. I'm not saying that he can't, but I'm saying the sample size.
stylistically, he didn't need to. He didn't need to bang the drum against Ruiz because that means you're getting closer and you're giving Ruiz a better chance of hitting you. So he wouldn't do that in the Ruiz fight. And in the Pula fight, Pula was open for uppercuts. So why would you do that?
Well,
I think in this fight, you know what it is? I think mindset is going to play a big part in this fight. I think that if AJ is going to win, he has to be aggressive. He has to try and control the center of the ring. Because let's face it, AJ is not going to win backing up. He has to come forward. But as Jeff said, he's got to be defensively responsible. And he's also got to let his hands go, but obviously not windmill himself out in the first 4, 5, 6 rounds. He's got to be patiently aggressive, intelligently aggressive, but he's got to let his hands go.
What about the stamina? I haven't seen no one address that yet.
Yeah,
can I address that? Can I address that real quick?
I wasn't even finished before Jeff cut me off. That's why I'm like,
can I
go on.
Hold on? Shane, I promise you I'm gonna let you go. I did cut you off. As far as the stamina issue, a person can have stamina issues midway towards the back half of a fight. What does a fighter do when they're tired? They try to take a round off. Tyson Fury is the perfect opponent to take a round off against. He's not active offensively. So if AJ is in round 7, round 8, and he's a little winded, I guarantee you he's going to be able to take a round off and get his win. I guarantee that. I'm not saying that he won't have issues.
Because Jeff always steals my ideas. Because I was going to say the same thing. That's why I want to speak first.
I think
y'all
just add,
y'all
guys.
done stole half. I didn't even get my joint off, and y'all done stole half of what I.
You fading out, bro.
I think what's going to happen as well with AJ, the weights of this fight are going to be very important as well. He needs to keep his weight in check. He can't come in too heavy.
What's a good weight for him, Laurie?
I would say about 17 and a half max.
Do it in pounds. Do it in pounds. Pounds.
I know what you mean, but
yeah, but what I'm saying, if you come in too heavy, especially AJ is very muscled, and muscles burn up energy quick. So he's got to come in a bit lighter, which can be a bit of a conundrum because Fury's such a big man. So he ain't going to want to be too light because he'll get pushed around.
Lowdown, what's a good weight for AJ?
What was the weight? I mean, I thought that the weight that he weighed in the Pula fight, I'm not quite sure exactly what it was.
It was like lower 17s.
Yeah, I thought that was like that 238 pounds.
I think around that weight for me.
Was that low?
Yeah, 238.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to come in like particularly too heavy. If he does, then like I said, by the later rounds, he's going to be sagging. I don't think that'll be good for him. He's got to be built for everything. I think we already know that he can overpower Fury. So I don't think that he should come in too heavy at all. Not at all. Not for me.
Shane, what's a good weight for him?
Go on, YSM.
YSM, what's a good weight for him, bro?
What I saw, I don't know what he weighed for Pulev, but whatever that was, what it was in 230, it was 237,
it was like 238.
All right, can I give you what I've seen as far as from AJ?
Go ahead,
real fast.
Shoot.
All right, so what I saw against Pulev is probably the scariest fighter in the division. He was a full balanced breakfast. He combined his earlier style with what he did against Andrew Ruiz. He picked and chose in spots whether he was going to box off the back foot or whether he was going to come straight forward and attack Pulev. And AJ has always had the best punch variation in the heavyweight division. He can left hooks to the body, right hooks, uppercuts. Whereas though where Wilder is very basic, 1-2 and a very flimsy left hook, AJ, he has the best uppercut outside of Canelo Alvarez that I've seen in boxing. He torques his body where he like shoots it across.
Jamal Charlo.
Better than Tank. What about Tank?
Mel and Tank too, bro.
AJ, bro. AJ and Canelo, best 2 uppercuts I've
AJ got great uppercut.
Yeah.
He can like Fury can't win on the cards trying to box AJ off the back foot, and he can't come forward and use the tactics that he used against Wilder because AJ has a very good punch variation and he's outrageously strong in the core. If he tries to hold AJ will throw him around. So I don't see in any scenario where Tyson Fury beats Anthony Joshua. While I think Wilder would have stopped him, Joshua doesn't have any flaws really. where Wilder has distinct flaws and even Fury has distinct flaws, AJ is like 8s across the board, where there's no weakness for you to just classify on and just use.
I know I'm gonna win some money. I know I'm gonna win some money that night. I'm gonna win some rent money that night.
Jeff.
Yeah.
But before you go to the comments, I'm just gonna say one thing before you get to the comments. YSM kind of stole what I was gonna say as well, because this is why I hate when people speak before me, because especially when you got similar boxing minds, people always steal my ideas. But one thing I would say is the reason why I also feel like most people are saying Fury on points. The reason why I feel like that fight it won't happen is because if I thought Klitschko, if Klitschko was a bit smarter, he would have beat Fury in that first fight. I just thought Klitschko wasn't active enough, because if you look at all the fights that people,
but who'd you give credit for that though? You got to give Fury credit for that, right?
I feel like I give Fury credit, but I also feel like Klitschko's mentality, as Laurie was saying, wasn't good enough. He literally thought he was gonna roll over Fury, whereas in my opinion, all you need to be active enough and throw the right punches against Fury, because he doesn't have an offense. Like, he wins so much rounds of just running, sticking your tongues out, early shuffle, all of that crap that I see all the time. And that, you don't win rounds like that, in my opinion. You don't win rounds.
Damn sure don't have no offense. Let me get in the comments real quick. I'm like 20 minutes behind, man. Hold on. My bro Tarmac in the building. Right. He said, who's worried about Fury? Wilder is done and dusted. Wilder got his cunt punched in. Wow. Move on. Hold on.
Wow.
King Louis, everybody ain't perfect. Do that make him guilty? I'm assuming he's talking about Breland. Sule Breland is 60 and has been taking punches to the head for 30 years, and you're blaming him for falling for a trap. Why not just respect the man's wishes and have no Wilder talk? Lion Killer podcast did it. Wait a minute. Before I get to the next comments, hold on. Wait a minute. Sule, first of all, I hope you subscribe to the channel, man, because I like your style, man. Let me address your comment. You said, why not just respect the man's wishes and have no Wilder talk? Did Breland not talk about Wilder in that interview? Regardless of who threw the bait out, the trap, and all that other stuff, did he not talk about Wilder in that interview?
You're gonna start a whole new argument. You're gonna start.
I'm just asking the question. He said, respect the man's wishes and not talk Wilder. But he talked Wilder, no matter who set the trap. But I'm sure I'll hear from him again. Cuzzy TV, who cares if you find it odd? The real issue is, did he spike the water? Yeah, I don't think so. King Louis, I know if I had some evidence of cheating, it wouldn't be no Fury AJ. That's a good point. Don't forget the same Kevin Iole Yahoo Sports interview 2 days after the fight. Deontay is already talking about not having Breland in his corner again, aka he was already fired because of the towel.
That's true.
Hold on. If AJ can nullify Ephraim Molina, if AJ can nullify Fury's jab, AJ can knock him out with combinations. He could. Mr. 100 Rounds, big shout out to you, bro. Respect to all. Respect to you, bro. Elder Boxing, Oscar Rivas is fighting next week. Yeah, I think Mr. 100 Rounds is new too. Definitely subscribe to everybody on the panel. Elder Boxing, he said Oscar Rivas is fighting. Oscar Rivas fighting next week?
Is it?
In the Bridgerweight, I think it's a Bridgerweight fight. I think.
Oh, but that's why I don't know about it. Okay. Elder Boxing, he stay on top of that. Michael Bates, what's going on? He said AJ needs to counter with the uppercut and throw power when they are on the ropes. Must stay off the line consistently. Yeah, he definitely got to stay off the line. Scott 70, Rivas fighting in Bridgerweight next week. Okay. King Louis, to AJ credit, AJ have success with taller fighters and don't have those problems that are being mentioned. King Louis said, he said AJ plus 250. Oh, I'm gonna make some money that night. Make some money that's what King Louis said. He said, I'm gonna make some bread that night. I'm gonna pay for Daryl and Laurie to come to the States after I get done.
Hey, go to a basketball game, man.
Yeah, we can. Hey, man,
I
listen.
see Jeff says Laurie and Lowdown, but he doesn't say me. I'm not in the States neither. I'm in England, bro.
Brother, you on the payroll. I don't know what the hell you talking about. You on the payroll. God damn, you on the payroll. He said, nah, AJ weighed 237 for Ruiz 2 and 240 for Pulev. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I thought so.
AJ will be staying at 240 for the remainder of his career. I hope so, because that's a good weight for him. And King Louis, no, I'm saying he should come in at 250. Oh, you saying two? Man, you done got us all hyped. I'm thinking it's plus 250 on the odds, man. Hey, brother, you gonna have to clarify.
But I was gonna say before
come in 250 plus.
Laurie, you and what's it called? I was gonna ask Laurie and Lowdown because you're more in tune with British fans than I am, because I don't even listen to them most of the time. Who do people believe is gonna win more, AJ or Fury? From what I don't know how it is in the States, but how is it in England? Who do people think is gonna win?
I think most of the people that I've seen online and most of the stuff I've read suggests that Fury will be the favorite going into the fight.
Fury is the favorite. He'll be the favorite over here, and I think amongst a lot of the boxing circles that I've seen, a lot of people seem to favor Fury right now, and that's because they've seen vulnerabilities in AJ obviously losing to Andy Ruiz. A lot of these guys don't know what they're talking about, by the way, and there's a lot of bias in it as well. But I will say, if you were to ask the majority of the English public who they think would win, Laurie, I'm sure you'd agree it'd be more towards Fury than AJ.
Yeah, a lot more.
How much pay-per-views do you think it does? And Jeff, remember I was telling you about pay-per-views before. How much pay-per-views do you think it does?
Yeah.
Over here, it's the biggest fight in British boxing history. Over here, I know in America it won't be as much of a sell, but over here it's huge. It doesn't get any bigger than this.
I'd have to.
How much? Give her a number. Rough number.
It's difficult to say because with a lot of fights over here, they never really release the numbers. If you notice over here, pay-per-view. So whenever Sky have a pay-per-view, they hardly ever release the numbers.
It does if it breaks the. It does if it breaks.
It's going to be on BT. It's going to be on BT as well, so it's going across 2 platforms as well. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it's as open as
listen, I don't know the numbers. It's going to be a massive fight. Massive. Like Daryl said, biggest fight in British boxing history, hands down.
Question for you. Question for Daryl and Laurie. If this fight happens this year, do you think the best place for it is Saudi Arabia?
Financially, yes, but I mean, I must say I'd like to see it in this country, but I don't think we will, because obviously market forces are going to dictate. So yeah, probably will be.
I mean, Dylan White's not even in England. Dylan White's fighting in wherever he's fighting. He's not even fighting in England. So I doubt you're going to see.
He's fighting in Gibraltar.
Exactly. Yeah. So I doubt you're going to see.
What is Gibraltar? What is that?
It's near Spain. It's a little island. It's near Spain. It's a little island off Spain.
Why is
I can tell you haven't been to church recently, bro.
Yeah, why is are you international, brother?
Yeah, no, church.
Kind of just rolled off the tongue there, brother.
Exactly, bro. You ain't been to church recently, Jeff. You ain't been to church.
I haven't. Let me get in the comments real quick. Sule, do you think fighters will be taking pay cuts to be on the AJ Fury undercard? I know the demand from top ranked DAZN fighters to try to get on that card will be huge. Let's pitch that to Laurie and Daryl. Daryl, you want to go first on that?
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will. They're gonna have to try and make the undercard, viewable at some sort. I think that some of these fighters will, man, because we have to remember as well that we're in a pandemic still. When this fight does happen, it's probably going to be without fans. So considering the amount of viewers that it's going to get, people will be clamoring to get on, man. They will be. And I think that particularly a lot of British fighters, I think they'll be trying to get on that card for sure.
I think there will be fans back by then, won't it? Because I can't see this fight happening until later on in the year. And
they say June. They said June.
I think it will happen. I think it will happen before then. I think it will. They were talking about this even before we had the roadmap to come out of this pandemic. They were talking about this fight getting signed and sealed and how there could be 2 fights in a year. So I think that they already planned for this fight to happen without fans. And just to go on what you guys were saying earlier, I hope it's not in Saudi Arabia. I mean, we've seen that. I mean, if you're going to do it without fans, at least try and get creative, man. Like, have it on a boat or something. You know what I mean? Like, just do something different. Because you know what UFC did with the Fight Island? I thought that was cool. Do you know what I mean? Just do something different, man. We've seen.
What about Eddie Hearn's back garden again? Eddie Hearn's back garden.
Nah, I don't think. If it's going to be in the UK, then we need fans. I don't want to see that in Eddie back garden. No way. And Fury and that will never do that over in their back garden. No chance. I just think that financially, yeah, Saudi Arabia or Dubai or one of them areas there, that will be the most likely destination without fans.
Given the amount of money involved in this fight, I don't think that fight will happen in the UK. I think you're looking at Saudi.
Yeah. Or Dubai or somewhere in the Middle East. Qatar, one of them places there.
One of the oil-rich places, yeah.
We need some of that oil over here, man, for sure. Shane, you want to speak on that?
No, I said my piece. You got to know.
You got Will Stokes. One thing I've noticed is that it seems like AJ drops weight quite a bit and then progressively gets heavier and heavier until something happens, and then he drops weight again when he struggles. He kind of lost me with that. You understand where you're going with that? I know
what he means, but he's trying to say he gets heavier and heavier, and then when something happens, he'll drop weight again. But the reason why I feel like that, his weight is, I feel like it's a bit unfair to be questioning AJ's weight when Fury's had weight issues his whole career. You see my point? Like, why was nobody talking about Fury's weight? How this guy was 300 and something pounds, and he went 12 rounds with Pianetta.
I can answer that. His whole career he's been successful being fat. So we don't care about his weight.
It's going 12 rounds with Pianetta successful. That's not successful in my eyes.
When has Fury been skinny and successful?
Well, he's been. But remember the difference between 240 pounds and 300 pounds is much greater than the difference between 230 and 250. AJ's only been between that mark.
Right, understood. But what I'm saying is Tyson Fury has had a successful career and he's never taken his physical appearance serious. He's always been heavy. Even if it's lower than other fights, he's always been heavy. So we're not.
But you would say AJ hasn't been successful? AJ's been successful as well.
AJ's been successful light and heavy. He's been successful fighting in the 230s. He's been successful fighting in the 250s. You see what I'm saying?
So yeah, that's my point. So I feel like we shouldn't be just talking about AJ's weight. If AJ's been successful at light and heavy, even though it is a factor, I feel like you also have to talk about how heavy Fury is going to be coming into camp.
That's a solid point. That's a solid point. Sule said, I see 300,000 buyers in America. Let me tell you why he says that. It depends on what time they come on. It depends on what time they come on. If they accommodate as far as the US time, then it's going to be a lot more than that. But if they come on at the usual time a UK card comes on, I'm not going to say 300,000. I would say maybe 5 or 6. But yeah, go ahead, Shane.
I would actually try to stack that undercard with American fighters because ESPN. I don't know. The ESPN and the Zone are both American companies, and if it's in a foreign country, that means they're losing out. So because of that, they're gonna have to stack that undercard with American fighters. So at least you still get an American fan base. You know, both the Zone and ESPN have. I'd put Andrade versus Liam Williams on that undercard, for example.
The budget ain't gonna be big enough for that, brother.
Why wouldn't it be?
It's still, regardless of how big a fight is, there's a budget for every fight. There's a budget for every card.
Maybe
you know how much Andre gonna ask for?
If it goes to purse bids, he has to take what he gets.
Yeah, it's already gone to purse bids, hasn't it? It's already gone to purse bids.
Yeah, but it's not
on that purse bid.
Yeah, but it's not gonna go to purse bid and go on that card though.
Who won it?
I think the Zone won that purse bid. Eddie Hearn won that purse bid.
Enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right, Will Stokes said because he was getting heavier and heavier all the way until the Takam fight where he weighed 254 and then struggled a bit and dropped down to 242, I believe, for JP. Joseph Parker, yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. I think with the weight with AJ, I really do think it depends on who he's fighting. Some guys he can get away with being heavy. Some guys he needs to be in that 235, 240 range. So I agree. I just think more from a strategy standpoint, I think he could float between 235 and probably 250, depending on who the opponent is. But that goes to show how good AJ is when you can float 15 pounds based off of your competition. Like, that's credit to AJ.
That's a fact, because Laurie, remember when we saw Dylan White before the Rivas fight and he was looking heavy? Do you remember that? And we saw Rivas on the pads and Rivas was looking sharp and clean, remember?
Yeah.
Ephraim Molina, I think the reason people favor Fury is because he outboxed Wilder in the first fight, then beat the brakes off of him in the second. I have to fully disagree with that. I gotta fully disagree with that. It's not hard to outbox Wilder. He's lost probably the most rounds out of every heavyweight champion probably in the last 10 years. Laurie, am I correct on that, brother?
No.
Yeah, he's a professional at losing rounds. Like, that's what Wilder does until he lands that money shot. And that's what it is. So I completely. Do
you know what also is as well? Is the fact that AJ lost so convincingly to Ruiz, even though he won the rematch and he won it, pretty convincingly in terms of the scorecards. It's the vulnerability, because they've seen the vulnerability in AJ and the fact that, fans are very fickle, man. I mean, especially over here, they'll jump on anything. Like, if Fury, because he beat Wilder so convincingly in that fight, and Wilder was being sold as, this devastating puncher, blah, 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 blah. The first thing I was hearing from people's mouths after Fury beat Wilder was that, AJ couldn't have done that to Wilder. Fury will smash AJ. Look what happened when AJ fought Ruiz. So it's the fact that he lost to Ruiz and the vulnerabilities were there. He's been dropped before the Ruiz fight. And then in the second fight, he boxed a more tentative fight. He was on the back foot. So fans over here, they're not looking at like Styles making fights. They're just looking at it like, well, AJ lost to him. He got knocked down by him. He's not the same fighter. We're going with Fury, man. That's just how it is.
We love AJ and we love Fury for the same reasons. They both have vulnerabilities. You know what I'm saying?
And then you look at some of Tyson Fury's fights. Otto Wallin. I mean, a lot of people, myself included, thought he was very lucky to get away with that night.
I like Otto Wallin.
Any other fight, any other country, any other referee, that fight gets stopped. We all know that. Steve Cunningham nearly had him out of there. You know what I mean? And even going way back in Fury's career, there was a guy from this country, McDermott.
John McDermott, yeah. And Nevin Package as well. Nevin Package gave him, dropped him.
Yeah. Jeff, you know what's funny? Do you know what's funny, again, about this whole talk about boxing fans being fickle? It's like before, Fury was looked at as a bit of a joke over here. Before he went over to America, he was looked at as a bit of a joke. Like, there were these clips going around of him punching himself in the face. Everyone used to laugh at that. And then all of a sudden now, I mean, he's redeemed himself very well. But before, that's how he was looked at.
I wonder if he had
when people were saying he would get... Remember I'm so done. You remember when they were saying that David Price would knock him out in a round? You remember that? I remember that vividly when people were saying that David Price would knock Tyson
Fury. A lot of people thought that fight never happened.
Yeah, that's because I think David Price had beaten him twice in the amateurs, put him down as well.
Yeah, I heard he put him down in the amateurs.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. But I mean, and that goes to the point of Fury not being the golden child, really until recently. So going back to the accusations, I'm like, a golden child would get those types of, perks and things like that. So, Fury, I mean, he was a middle of the pack guy for a while, and you can be a middle of the pack guy and people look at you and say you have a lot of potential, but he was a middle of the pack guy and people thought he was a joke. Like, people thought he was a sideshow. You know what I'm saying? So credit to Fury. He's come a long way, but that was his reputation. Will Stokes, he said, then he got heavier and heavier until Ruiz won, where he was 247. Then he dropped a load of weight all the way down to 237 for Ruiz 2, but then for Pulev, he went back up. No, we in agreement, bro. We definitely in agreement. Scott said, I think when AJ ended up with his leg in a brace, that was the point at his age not to blow up and weight too much again. That's a solid point. So I'm thinking he's gonna come in a bit heavier again for the Fury fight. I disagree with that. King Louis said, can Fury fight in the UK?
Yeah, you
That's a
can.
good point, because he's actually not got a UK license.
That's a great point. Laurie, you want to speak on that a little bit more, brother, for the people in the States that don't know?
Yeah, he doesn't have a UK license, so that's another reason why the fight will likely be in Saudi.
Yeah, but he was trying to fight in the UK at the end of the year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not hard to get. It's not hard to get a UK license either.
Hey,
No.
Daryl, you think a little duffel bag money to change their mind?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Slide that under the table, bro. Yeah, man.
Yeah, little non-tax money, and he should have a license. Sule said Lomachenko and Devin Haney keep talking back and forth on Twitter. Top ranked DAZN slapped them as a co-main for minimum pay in exchange for the big platform. Sule, that is a great dream, but they not going for that, brother.
No, that's not.
I like the way you think, but that's not
that fight won't happen anyway, because Lomachenko ain't gonna want to fight.
Yeah, he's not gonna want to fight. Jordan Gill versus Isaac Lowe.
That's realistic.
Be a good show opener for AJ Fury. Will Stokes, you pulling out your hardcore boxing fan card. Okay. I like that fight though. That's what you think, Laurie? That's a doable fight.
Yeah, that's a good fight. Yeah, I'd go for Jordan Gill. Actually.
I'll go for Gill.
Yeah, I like Gill too. I like. What you think, Shane?
I have to be the controversial one. I don't like Gil at all, to be honest. He's another guy I don't really like. I don't really rate Gil that highly. But I don't really rate Lowe that highly. I don't rate either of them. I don't think either of them are that good.
Will Stokes said, no, Sule, Loma versus Haney is a massive fight. They wouldn't do that on that card. Yeah, 100% correct. King Louis said Martin Carefoot.
He's the one with the boar meat, isn't he?
Yeah, the boar meat guy.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Well, the farmer guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Fury versus Bordick. What the hell is he talking about? King Louis, you lost me on that one, brother. You lost me.
Yeah, the
wild boar.
Like, that's what it was. The wild boar when he that was crazy. I feel like that's why he didn't even get investigated, because he didn't even have a license at the time anyway. So even if he got banned, it didn't even make a difference.
That's kind of similar to when Big Baby Miller got popped dirty before the AJ fight. He didn't have a license in New York. He didn't have a license.
Well, Big Baby Miller gets caught every time he's supposed to have a fight.
And Big Baby, me and Shane said this a while ago. He's like, he can come work for us. He can come work for G5FTV. I don't do drug tests over here.
Big Baby Pharmacy. Huh?
Yeah, Big Baby Pharmaceuticals, man.
When Jeff first started the channel, he had the term where he used to label Ortiz and Povetkin as the co-founders of the PED boys. But now that's got taken all the way off because of Big Baby Miller. He is the head of the PED.
No, but you know what? In a way, we laugh and we joke about Big Baby Miller, but the so-called face of boxing, pound for pound #1, he's a two-time.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, no,
these things now, but Daryl, I know we go back and forth and rare, but these conversations have to be had. How serious are we about drugs in boxing? Are we only going to be serious with this Big Baby Miller or Povetkin or Luis Ortiz or one or two other people?
But
you know
hey, Lord, let me.
How can you have a governing body that will actually raise the level of a steroid so one of their so-called fighters can pass the test?
No, that's
talking about this.
That's a fact. And Laurie, let me ask you this. As far as the drug testing, how big of an issue you think it is as far as
massive
actual price?
Massive.
Actual price of getting the testing. I know a lot of people don't want to get the testing done because of the price of it. Is there anything that can be done? Is there anything that can be done about that? Daryl, you could jump in on that too.
What I do is when they do catch people, I mean, let's face it, the cheats are ahead of the testers.
Correct.
When they do catch the cheaters, then they should be punished accordingly, and then that might have a deterrent Well, other guys taking it. But at the moment, there's no real deterrent. I mean, look what happened with Canelo, and I'm going to use him as an example. I'm deliberately targeting Canelo because he is the so-called face of boxing, the number one pound for pound. That's what they all tell us. So he's the guy that's carrying the sport, yeah?
Right.
He's like the trendsetter, the brand name of the sport.
Correct.
Drugs cheat, convicted drugs cheat. What happened? He didn't even get a ban. I think he was out for 6 months. He would have been out for 6 months anyway, right?
Right.
That's Canelo. Then you look at the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury, convicted drugs cheat. You know what I mean? Then you go beneath that and you look at some of the other guys. Okay, Manny Pacquiao, I'm not calling him a drugs cheat, but there's been rumors surrounding Manny Pacquiao for years. And he's been a previous pound for pound champion and so forth. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So it's a cesspool, man. You know what I mean? And these guys are getting away with stuff.
The problem is, man.
Look at Manny Pacquiao's last fight with Thurman. There wasn't even any drugs testing for that fight.
Go on, Lowdown.
That's true. That's true. Go ahead, Lowdown.
The problem is like we're never going to see it, but until we have some sort of central governing body where we can rule on this and hand out punishments accordingly, then this is just going to happen. I mean, look, for example, there's plenty of examples, like Ryan Martin, for example. Over in the UK, he got busted after his fight against Josh Taylor, his non-fight against Josh Taylor, because he didn't do anything in it. But then to make it even worse, he got busted for drugs then. But then, like, he's fighting against Robert Easter in America. In America, you can get busted for drugs, and then you could just go to another state, and then you can fight. So it's literally, until we have like a central body, it's never going to happen. But until we have one,
but what can happen though? What can happen, and I feel like this doesn't happen enough, is not governing bodies, sanctioning bodies like the WBC, WBA, IBF. They should ban each other.
Problem. They're a big cancer.
Man. I just told you that the WBC, they up the levels of clenbuterol so that.
But we know why that happened though, because Canelo.
You're espousing to get the sanctioning bodies to deal with the problem, and I'm telling you that they're part of the problem because they're allowing.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I can't say anything to the.
So they're worse than the fighters. When you think where's the integrity there?
They've got no one to answer to. There's no one to answer to. That's the problem. That's why it's running right. It will continue to happen until there's someone to answer to, but it won't happen.
I mean, I remember when Belly was talking about Canelo the other day, and when he fought Callum Smith, and he was just indicating that Canelo's on some form of drugs. Yeah, and to me, I just feel like, and I'm just keeping it real. I just feel like
Belly's only
for his boy, ain't he?
Yeah, Belly's only
that's what I was gonna say. It's sour grapes, isn't it? It's sour grapes. Sour grapes.
He wouldn't be saying that otherwise. Otherwise, he'd be calling him pound for pound number one. And that's the problem.
The reason why I'm saying it's sour grapes is because, let's keep it real. This guy was walking through Kovalev, and Kovalev's bigger than Callum Smith. You see my point? So it to me, Canelo's been a suspect for this for a while.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen to it? Nothing.
Nah, like nothing.
That's why I've said several times on Daryl's show, as far as I'm concerned, there's no way he should be pound for pound number one. Not when you got a guy like Terence Crawford who's done just as much, if not more, and he's done it clean. Well, as far as we know, he's done it clean anyway. So if you're a convicted drugs cheat, you shouldn't even be in consideration for pound, should you?
No, I agree. I agree. No, I agree.
You're a convicted cheat. That's like saying to somebody who wants to stand for being a judge, you got criminal convictions in the past. How's that work? Right. You know what I mean?
That's a real good point.
Shouldn't even be in the argument.
Yeah, real good point.
You should forfeit. Once you've been a convicted drugs cheat, you forfeit your right to be on the pound for pound listings and get that ring magazine or whatever, that trinket. You know what I mean? It's nonsense.
Right, definitely.
You know, and there's a whole host of guys, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they throughout the sport.
Talk about like stacked gloves and loaded gloves, but when you think about it, PEDs is just as bad, isn't it? Because
it is worse. It is worse.
Yeah.
Who had the Trinidad point earlier in the conversation?
I raised it.
Lowdown.
He did get caught.
Exactly.
He got caught before the Bernard Hopkins fight. You know who caught him? Brother Nazim. Brother Nazim.
The late great brother Nazim, and brother Nazim was also the one who caught Margarito when he fought.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Look what Margarito was doing to people before that.
He was probably doing that since the HBO days.
For that shit, man.
They wanted Floyd to fight him. They wanted Floyd to fight him.
Yeah. Laurie and Daryl, I'm gonna have a guy on the channel that runs his own boxing glove company.
All right.
I definitely want y'all to be on for that. I got a coordinate.
Yeah, make sure, man. Make sure.
But I don't think anybody's had a guy that actually owns and makes gloves actually jump on a YouTube channel. So I think that's going to be huge. But I'll definitely communicate with you guys in terms of that. You get your questions ready.
Please do.
All of that.
This is what I was saying earlier as well about the Wilder thing. Although some of Wilder's more excessive claims do sound a bit wacky, I've always said that I'm not going to just totally write off what he says absolutely, because we all know, all four of us on this panel know right now that boxing is a very dirty sport, man. There's some very nasty and disgusting people that occupy this sport. Anything goes. Even when I boxed the amateur, I was hearing about guys with dodgy hand wraps and stuff like that. So you're not going to tell me that this doesn't go on at the top level when so much money's involved and there's so many shady characters involved. Things do happen. I think, to go back to what me and Daryl were saying earlier, the problem with Wilder is you've got no proof. And when you've got no proof, it's very hard to prove it's very hard to get anything done because you've got to back it up.
Yeah, it's boxing's a wild west.
You can accuse a guy of dealing drugs. All 1 minute he ain't got nothing. Next minute he's driving fancy cars and he's got jewelry and this and that and houses. You're thinking, where do you get this money? But you've got to build a case against him. You've got to have evidence. When you go to court, you've got to have the evidence to say, this man is a drugs dealer. This is the evidence we have on him. We've been watching him. This is the evidence we've got. You put him in front of a jury and they find him guilty. That's how you get the conviction. You don't just say, yeah, we think such and such is a drug dealer because he's driving all these cars when last year he didn't have nothing. You may well be telling the truth. But if you have evidence, you're going nowhere.
Hey, Laurie, I said this to Shane off camera. I said even down to the dent in the side of his head, right? That's the shape of an egg weight. I'm like, he's been boxing probably for about 15, 20 years. I'm like, does that dent have Fury name on it? Like, seriously. Like, and I'm just common sense. Like, if you've been boxing for 15, 20 years and you have a dent in the side of your head, even if that's the case, how do you know when the dent was created, who actually created the dent? You you could have got hit by a brick like Debo did on Friday and shit, and that could have caused a dent on the side of your head. Like, it goes back to what you said, Laurie. Like, at some point, either sue or file charges.
Exactly.
If you're not suing or filing charges, like, jump back in the
fight as well, right? I remember Wilder saying this, right? I remember clearly. He said that he visited a doctor, and the doctor, with regards to his injuries, and he said that the doctor told him that the injuries that he suffered in the Wilder fight were not consistent with a glove in boxing. So I'm saying, so if the doctor told you that, bring forward this doctor. Let's see who he is. Let him, you know what I mean, announce himself.
Listen,
you can't just say, somebody told me that this and that happened, because
hit Boxing Lowdown up.
Your claims.
Whoever the doctor is, hit Boxing Lowdown up. I want to hear him on Boxing Lowdown.
Yeah, we want to talk to this.
That's what I want to hear. If you don't want to talk,
a year has passed since this whole incident, and like, we're not all of these allegations, and where are we with them? You know, we're still here. We're talking about on YouTube while AJ and Fury are about to fight. How old is Wilder? 36? 36 years old?
35, 36, yeah.
Yeah, you need to crack on, bro. Like, you need to crack on. We need to see you back in the ring, because all this talk ain't going anywhere.
And the longer this goes on, the more damaging it is for his career, because he's just stalling his career. He should have been back in the ring already.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. I'm gonna get through these last questions, and I'm gonna close this out, because if I don't close it out now, I'll be on the phone all night with you guys. That's how much I enjoy talking to y'all. Sule said, He said, I want to see that Chinese heavyweight Big Bang Zhang on the undercard so he can face off against the winner. Big Bang
He must be on crack. He must be on crack.
You might have to have a rematch with Forrest, man.
Yeah, he got to have a
You know what? I don't know if you heard, but that Chinese guy, he suffered a minor cardio arrest after that fight, man.
Yeah, he's
So
still
he
in
might-
the
Yeah.
Is he still
He's still in the hospital.
Yeah, he's still
No,
in
he's
the
out. I think he's out of hospital now, but I think that's the kind of thing that can stop you from fighting again, because it's
Yeah,
a bit
yeah,
like,
tell you.
remember over here in the UK, we've had footballers that have had that similar problem and they've just passed out on the pitch.
Yeah.
He had a minor cardiac arrest. They were saying, that's what they said anyway, or a suspected minor
Yeah,
cardiac.
Sule, so you're going to have to pick somebody else, brother. The Big Bang Zhang ain't going to be back in the ring for a while.
I like looking at the American guy, man, Big Baby Anderson. I call him.
I like Jared Anderson, man. I'm trying to sell Shane on Jared Anderson, man. That's my guy. King Louis said the Fed they found in Fury claimed he was eating unpenetrated boar meat. Nandrolone.
Yeah, that's what they found in Fury after the fight. Or before the fight, one of them,
Yeah. Let's see. Will Stokes, do you guys think there's a chance Fury wasn't actually trying to cheat and that boar was legit? Hey, Will, hold on. Wait.
I don't believe that boar meat for one.
Wait a minute. Will done been around long enough, and Will trying to get away with some shit because we got 2 new people on the show. Will, I ain't gonna let you get away with that, man.
You know, in the UK, we call it, he's trying to wind us up. That's what we call it.
Yeah, he's trying to wind us up. Yeah. And Will, you show me the menu at the restaurant that serves boar meat. Can I get it medium well? Can I get it well? Can I get it rare?
But do you know what as well? What's interesting is that farmer since came out and said he doesn't even have boar on his farm.
Right.
So that was a nonsense.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Personally, Will's a massive Fury fan, so he's gonna say whatever, innit?
He's got a picture of AJ on his DP.
Bro, me and Will have arguments about everything. Everything. We will argue about how much whether it rained today or it didn't rain. We argue about everything.
Listen, I'm trying to get them 2 to battle on this channel, but Will a little shy on the camera, so I might have to tell him to cut the camera off and we can get that going. But King Louis said then Martin out and said Fury paid him to lie. Boar's been extinct in the UK since the 1800s.
Yeah, he did, and then he went quiet all of a sudden. You know. He came out and said that, but then like literally there was nothing else of it.
Yeah, them MTK henchmen came to go pay his farm.
Is it, man?
Sule said Huey Fury was caught up in the exact same Nandrolone case,
and
he just fought on the AJ versus Pulev undercard in the UK. Fury doesn't have a UK license because he's been in the US with the ESPN.
But can you on this channel what you're on right now? Jeff has a video saying, when did Huey Fury receive his ban? Because they said Fury received his ban when he spent his 2 years out of the ring. When did Fury receive his ban? If you remember, while Fury was on his so-called ban, Huey Fury fought for a world title against Joseph Parker. So,
Shane, can you send Laurie and Daryl that video?
Yeah, I will. I'll find it.
The other thing I would say as well is I don't know if you know this, Jeff, right? I'm sure Daryl and Shane know this, but Huey Fury's dad, right?
He knows.
Huey Fury's uncle. That man was a big time drugs man, you know. He
knows.
The man did about 10 years in jail, and they said that he was running one of the biggest drugs operations, and it was all sorts of drugs. It wasn't just narcotics; it was peds, all types of stuff. This man was doing. The man's a chemist.
I wonder if Billy Joe got his nasal.
He's in boxing, and no one says nothing. You know what I mean? You kind of have to dig deep to discover these things.
Did Billy Joe Saunders get his nasal spray from this brother?
Laurie.
You know what I mean?
You heard me?
Sorry?
I said, did Billy Joe Saunders get his nasal spray from this brother?
No, he got his nasal spray from, there's another trainer, a very successful trainer. He trained Kell Brook, Kid Galahad. He's now training Liam Williams. And
Prince Nassim.
Prince Nassim, yeah.
Johnny Nelson.
That's the nasal spray, what they call the nasal spray gym. Over here, we call it Ingles Pringles. Ingle from the Winko Bank.
Bro, you have to be careful what you say, because the person who's coming on the channel next week, he's from Ingle Gym. He's from Ingle Gym.
Listen, man,
what I said to you is not.
I'm joking.
No,
this
is clear, yeah?
Uh-huh.
I'm not accusing Dominic Ingle per se. What I said there was other people calling Ingles Pringles. But what I'm saying, Kid Galahad, right? Kid Galahad, who was the other guy I mentioned?
Saunders.
And Saunders, yeah. Have both come out of that gym. That was the link I was making. And that is a fact. I'm not saying that all the guys in the gym are on drugs. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that.
I've been to the Ingle. I've been to the Ingle gym before. It's actually a really small gym. It's a really small gym, isn't it? Like it's a tiny gym.
Type thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there to watch Kell Brook train for one of his title fights. Yeah, I was in there. You know what I mean?
Scott says no chance Will would have had to eat literally a ton of boar meat. Efren, Melina, hey fellas, do you guys think that if Fury becomes undisputed, he will give Wilder a shot at all the belts? By the way, new to the channel, like the panel.
No,
hit the like and subscribe.
Tyson Fury's already said that he will never share a ring with Deontay Wilder again. And I believe
that came recently as well.
I wouldn't either though.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't either though. I'm like, you're not going to accuse me of cheating. Even if I was cheating, you're not going to accuse me of cheating, and then I'm going to give you another paycheck. Hell no. Hold on. King Louis, the face of clenbuterol. He said, get the sanctioning bodies behind it or throw the belts in the trash and start a new body. That goes back to what Daryl was saying.
Too much money.
Yeah, for sure. Scott says, VADA up the levels of clenbuterol. UCAD and USADA simply followed their guidelines. He said, what's AFTV's channel? It's a fan channel.
Yeah, it's a football fan.
Football fan is a massive football fan channel, has over 1 million subs. Am I correct?
Yep, 1.3
million subs. So yeah, he's at a place where we're trying to get to.
Tell King Louis to subscribe.
Yes, King Louis, go ahead over there and subscribe, good brother. Get some good fan reactions and all that.
What days are you on, Laurie? Is it Thursdays or Wednesdays?
I did a show. My show is out now, actually. So when you finish there, yeah, tap in.
Listen, this is going to be a problem because this Shane, I don't know what you think. This might be the best live we've had since coming out of YouTube jail. This might be the best one. I'm gonna have to sit and think about that one, but I think this might be the best.
Regards to that Ring magazine, I think that Ring magazine. I don't know how the other guys feel, but I stopped buying Ring years ago. I don't watch any of their stuff online. That magazine sold its soul to Golden Boy. You know what I mean? And because of that, the people who write for it, I can't trust anything that comes out of these guys. PCs, man. You know what I mean? I'm not rocking with them at all. They're severely compromised.
Ring magazine is clearly, and I have to say this, pro-Mexican. Clearly pro-Mexican. I mean, they've never had Terence Crawford as the #1 pound for pound. Never had Terence Crawford pound for pound #1. They even had a new pound for pound #1.
Yeah.
I respect like how the rankings policy was, do you know, like the way what they were trying to do, because that's the sort of thing I want. I want to see one champion per division. So considering how they were doing it with like having the ring belt and the fact that only the rank #1 or #2 or whoever can fight for it. But over the years, I think that, yeah, when it got sold to Golden Boy, it kind of lost a bit of its validity for me, because one of the guys that runs it, he's still in boxing. He's got fighters under his stable. So how do you know that you're not saying, yeah, man, put my fighter up a couple notches up them rankings? Like, do you know what I mean? But the original policy that they were doing, I was riding hard for it. You know what I mean? I still like the 1 belt per division and the fact that they didn't have like mandatories. They were trying to do something different with their belts. But yeah, it's kind of lost a bit of its weight now, I have to say.
Yeah. Sule said Pacquiao put multiple dents in Margarito's head without any tampering, and he's a lot smaller than Tyson Fury. That's funny. Will Stokes, Scott, you must be thinking of the Ring Magazine heavyweight rankings because Rivas isn't in the pound for pound.
I know that.
Yeah. Scott, he said, I'll stand corrected. Will, still a joke either way. And Will Stokes, Wilder doesn't understand that he's literally destroying his legacy. In 30 years, a huge amount of people are just going to remember this whole situation and excuses in the suit, etc.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Jeff, let me ask you a question, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
It's a question for Jeff because you're overseas. You're closer to these guys than we are. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Wilder will ever fight again?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to fight again. I think despite all the talk that's going on right now, he has to get back in the ring to validate, period.
Because there's a lot of people over here that think he won't. They think that you're just going to bow out of the sport.
Nah, he's gonna get back in the ring, and I think
he's got too much pride to say to have losses as his last.
He has too much pride. Even if he goes in with a bum fight, he's gonna fight at least one more time to get a W under his belt.
The Charles Martin fight makes so much sense to me. You look at Charles Martin; it's a winnable fight for him, for one, and the fact that Charles Martin is high in the IBF rankings. So you beat him, you knock him out, which I think he would do. Then already you're high up in the rankings, and then all of a sudden you could be in a spot to fight one of the belt holders, whoever it is at that time.
Yeah, I love Otto Wallin. Let me let Shane say it first, since he say I be saying his ideas first. Go ahead, Shane.
Personally, I would like Otto Wallin and Andy Ruiz as his next two opponents. That would be my pick for his next.
I would say Charles Martin and Dylan White for me. Charles Martin and Dylan White.
Otto Wallin's a very dangerous fight for him. So is Ruiz.
Yeah, I love Otto Wallin. I think he might be the best counter puncher in the division. His counter puncher
that's career suicide by putting him in with Otto Wallin at this stage.
I'm just talking about as a fan. I'm not talking about I don't care about what I'm talking about myself. What I would
I'm saying, realistically, that's not going to happen because I don't think they will make that mistake. If you're going to fight Otto Wallin, fine, but not in his comeback fight. You need a fight to get him.
If Wallin had a little bit more power. If he had
Wilder, despite what the LDBC are saying, it's clear to me that his confidence is shot to pieces right now. Otherwise, he would have been back in the ring. So if he's going back in the ring, the last thing you want to do is put him in there with somebody that could beat him realistically. Yeah. Let's face it, Otto Wallin, if he doesn't get knocked out, he wins that fight. So if I'm looking after Wilder, I'm going to find him an opponent to at least make him look good against. You know what I mean?
Right. King Louis said he subbed to your channel, brother. King Louis subbed the AFTV.
Oh, nice. Respect.
Yeah, King Louis, go ahead over to Boxing Lowdown too. Go give him a look. King Louis said, "Great show, family. Gotta go." King Louis, I have your cell phone number, so I'm gonna hound you on your cell phone and tell you to get it. Boxing Lowdown. Will Stokes, man, Ruiz would destroy Wilder, in my opinion. I feel like that's a comment for Shane. I feel like Will said that for Shane. Go, Shane. The reason
why I say that, I feel like that's a bit unfair. I feel like people are actually forgetting how good Wilder is at landing.
I agree.
At landing that right hand.
Man.
Because
even Wallin.
Since when does Ruiz have good defense? I've never seen Ruiz with good defense before. You have to have good defense.
I don't see Ruiz landing. I don't see him lasting 4 rounds with Wilder. He is sitting duck.
Did you see Wilder against Gerald Washington?
Yeah.
Right. Did you see Wilder against Spilica?
Yeah, he's the king of losing rounds.
They have better defense than Ruiz. They have better defense. Ruiz has zero defense. Zero.
Hold on, Laurie, hey Shane. Laurie, I'm with you 100%. I watched those fights. Yeah, Andy Ruiz wouldn't last 4 rounds. Andy Ruiz will win the first 3 rounds. I'm in agreement with you.
But by the time the fourth round comes, that right hand's coming. That right hand coming.
Look how easy it was for AJ to land the right hand in the first and second fight, and he's not even a prolific right hand puncher like Wilder. Ruiz has no defense. All we will do is walk forward with the same straight line that he does, high guard, boom. He'll probably get knocked out as fast as Bermain Stavern.
Wilder's got the power to render anyone unconscious. We know that, but I'm just saying that you need to be a bit careful when you're putting a man after such a devastating loss.
No, that's a fact.
Somebody that's going to be as motivated as Ruiz and Wallin are, I just think he's too dangerous. Put him in with someone like Junior Farr, because all he does is just stand up anyway. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah, he like the slow dance. He like the slow dance.
Yeah,
shit
so
like that.
Junior Farr's knows some big.
Yeah, he's Junior Farr's real.
Nobody would pay to watch Junior Farr fight.
Hey, Laurie, Junior Farr is very romantic inside of the ring, man. He likes to get up close and then do a lot of hugging.
One of the worst heavyweight fights I've seen.
Yeah, man, that was bad, man.
Shane called it last week on Daryl's show when he described that as an absolute snooze fest, and he got it absolutely right. Terrible, man. Both of them, man, should just play rugby. It's as simple as that. Because New Zealand's a great.
Jeff said Joseph Parker should start doing wine tasting, so I agree with that. I think he should do wine tasting.
I see. He look like he's
prop forward, man. He's a trust me. I used to play rugby. He's a prop forward. That's what he should be doing.
For me, AJ Fury, Usyk, and Ruiz. I would put Michael Hunter there.
In the States, he might make a good linebacker or something like that. But boxing, nah.
Yeah.
And even worse.
I have to put
Junior Farr actually throws less punches than Adrian Broner.
Yeah.
Go back to that comment, Jeff. Go back to that comment, Jeff. I have to put Hunter above Ruiz, in my opinion. I have to put, in terms of styles, I love Michael Hunter's style. I have to keep it real. I love Michael Hunter's style.
We need to until it's all about who you beat, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But let's be real. Michael Hunter, in my opinion, beat Povetkin. He beat Bacoli. He beat Kuzman. I feel like he's got a good enough resume. Let's keep it real. I like Michael Hunter. I like
him as well. I just think size-wise, he's always going to struggle against some bigger guys, though.
I'm going to reserve comment because I'm trying to get Michael Hunter on the channel. So,
no, I like him, man. I like him. I think
I like him too. I don't think he beat Povetkin, but we can.
You don't think he beat Povetkin?
Hunter and Hergovich. Hopefully, we get that.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight.
You don't think he beat Povetkin, bro? You have to watch it again. I'm sorry.
I thought
we can we watch. With Shane, we'll watch it. We'll watch it somewhere on StreamYard or something. We'll share a screen.
Wait. Laurie. Yeah. Who won between Pacquiao and Jeff Horn? Well, who won that fight?
Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn beat him. He bullied him.
Yo, and listen, hold on. Listen, just for Laurie and just for Shane. Hold on, I gotta get Daryl on this. Who do you think won that fight?
You mean, you know what? I thought that Pacquiao did enough to win it, in my honest opinion.
So, all right. So I'm comfortable with this.
Why do you think that?
I mean, Jeff, it wasn't the best fight for me, but I just thought that he didn't. I didn't look at it. It's kind of similar to like the Broner and Santiago fight. I didn't look at that as a robbery, and with this one, I didn't think it was like a robbery either. I thought that Pacquiao for me did enough, but if you were going to give it to Jeff Horn, you could give it to Jeff Horn. I know that's sitting on the fence a bit, but it wasn't really.
The reason why I
wasn't outraged at it. Put it that way.
The reason why I brought that up, is because me and Jeff don't disagree about anything. But over the 3 years that Jeff's been on this channel, the only thing we categorically disagree on is Jeff Horn versus Pacquiao. That's the only thing.
And the only way we're going to be able to solve this is watch the fight together. So I'm going to find it on YouTube.
Why did you think Pacquiao won?
I just thought he landed the cleaner work.
Okay.
I didn't think Pacquiao won by a lot. Let me make that clear. I don't think it was a blowout. I think Jeff Horn did well in the fight. Like the only way he was going to win that fight was the way he fought that fight.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a close fight. I just think Pacquiao won the fight. But Shane is going to have to score these rounds with me.
No, but you know what it is? Boxing is very subjective.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And
You know what the thing is as well is that with Jeff Horn, he wasn't expected to win at all. So if he does better than anticipated, people are, oh, he won that round, man. And it's like, no, not necessarily.
That's very true. That's very true. Because that happened with the Usyk and Chisora fight. I was watching Usyk versus Chisora, and Will Stokes. I was talking to Will Stokes at this time, and he's like, Chisora's doing so good. I'm like, yeah, Usyk's gonna destroy him. But I know why people do that, because they expect people to do so much worse, and when they do better than they did, they just get credit for it.
Yeah, people get rounds for not doing as bad as they did in the previous round.
Exactly.
Yeah,
don't mean they did good.
We should also remember that there's 4, and I wrote them down here right now, 4 criteria that they use in scoring fights. Punches landed, effective aggression, defense, and ring generalship. Those are the 4 criteria that they use to score in fights. Now, I must admit, I watched that Jeff Horn Pacquiao fight live, and I thought that Jeff Horn won it, and I thought that some of the outrage that was coming out afterwards, people like Teddy Atlas and 1 or 2 other people.
Yeah, I wasn't outraged.
Ridiculous, because like Daryl said, even if you score it one way or the other, it wasn't one of those that you're going to jump up and down about. You know what I mean?
Correct.
I think it's the fact that Pacquiao is a legend in the sport, whatever you want to say about him, he's a legend. And some people just couldn't handle the fact that he got beaten by a little known guy from Australia. So it seemed
that was on Prime TV too.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, why are you getting upset, man? You know what I mean? The guy deserves it. You know what I mean? He put the work in. He bullied Pacquiao. He had some very good rounds in there. He struggled towards the end, but he held on and he got the win. I thought he won.
Yeah, I gotta put. Hold on, Shane. I gotta put a cutoff on the comments, man, because we're gonna be here all goddamn night. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it, and then I'm gonna let Laurie go. He said, "Let me say this: Wilder has fought 2 good opponents in his career. One almost KO'd him and completely outboxed him for most rounds, Ortiz, and the other beat him twice in Fury." You want to respond to that?
No, I don't agree with that, man. Listen, man, Wilder was great when he was in his heyday and he was banging people out clean. You know what I mean? He was doing his thing. We can all look back retrospectively and say, yeah, you ain't fought no one, yeah, this and that. But at the time, he was doing his thing. And his thing was he would get guys out of there with that big right hand. I think the problem for Wilder was always going to be there's going to come a night when somebody's able to take your punch. What else have you got? And the problem with Wilder is he never developed a plan B, did he? Never.
No, and you know what?
In both fights, he was on his way to losing. When he fought Gerald Washington, on his way to losing. When he fought Arthur Spilica, on his way to losing. But he found the big shot, and credit to him for that. But the problem when you're a one-dimensional fighter is that one night, that thing that you relied on so heavily is not going to work. What else have you got in your locker? And it proved it in the 2 fights. That he didn't have it.
The reason why I have to disagree with Will Stokes, and I know why he said that, I'm not categorically disagreeing, but the reason why I have to disagree is because for years, Klitschko fought bus drivers and pub drivers and all of that stuff. And his 2 biggest fights, he lost. His 2 biggest fights in terms of platform and fame, he lost those. Fury and AJ, and he lost those. And I'm not saying that he's not a great fighter. He's a great fighter, but a lot of fans who remember Klitschko, it's hard to forget that he got knocked out by AJ and he got scored by Fury in his own backyard. So that's why I'm saying it's very, 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 very unfair to just chastise Wilder like that. Because
Daryl, you want to get in on that, player?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, we could pick holes in anyone's record. Like, you can look at a guy. At the end of the day, it's what happens at the end. So yeah, I agree with Will. Like he was getting outboxed by Ortiz, but what's going to go down on the record? It's going to go down as a Wilder stoppage twice. And like in the Fury fight, the first fight, there was a lot of there was a reason why there was a lot of hype for the rematch, because the first one was a draw, and some people thought that Wilder should have got the win with that knockdown of Fury in the last round. So yeah, I mean, we can pick holes in anyone's record, man. I mean, you can look at anyone's record and say, look at Carl Froch against George Groves in that first fight. He got the W ultimately, but it was surrounded by a lot of controversy. But it's not going to show that on your record when you retire. It's going to show you as the win.
That's true. And let me add this before we get to the last comment. As far as Deontay Wilder is concerned, he has shown me on 2 or 3 different occasions that he has a little bit more in the locker than just the right hand. But when your right hand is so dynamic, like he doesn't ever use it. So I'll give you an example. Luis Ortiz, the first fight. Luis Ortiz was getting off in the first fight because, as me and Shane say all the time, he was winning the battle with the footwork. He was winning the dance battle before he started throwing punches. And what Wilder started doing strategically, and people don't give him credit for this, he started throwing a check left hook. It wasn't even hard. It was light. It was a check left hook just for him to get his left foot outside of Luis Ortiz's right foot. Once he started doing that, he started landing his shots. And I'm like, you don't do that by luck. You don't do that by luck. And then the second example is the Spilka knockout. Like, that was like a thing of beauty. Like, that's not a luck shot. It's a shame that Wilder doesn't use some of the tools that I think he has, because he's so dependent on that right hand. But Wilder, we need to see Wilder back in the ring. Like, that's just the bottom line, point blank, period. We need to see him back in the ring, and not against Otto Wallen. I think
another fight as well that I liked of
Stiverne won.
This one actually went to points, was when he fought Bermain Stiverne in the first fight.
Stiverne won. Yeah.
He won in that fight, and he used a good jab. The other thing I want to say is I've actually taken, being a boxing nerd like I am, I actually took the trouble to go back and look at some of. Remember, you won the bronze medal, 2008. I went back and looked at some of those fights, and he was actually using his jab there and some foot movement. So it could be said that over the years, because he's been so dependent on the right hand, his boxing skills have actually regressed.
Right, exactly.
It actually regressed because he was doing stuff early in his career that he stopped doing after a while. So. But yeah, you're right. We need to see him back in. We're big fans of Wilder. It's just that this excuse, all this stuff with the floppy gloves and the loaded gloves, and then the poison and the Mark Breland stuff. To me, I think he's got to put that to one side now.
Yeah.
Do what the likes of Miguel Cotto did and AJ did. Get back in there, man. Get your titles back.
Absolutely. And the last question from Will Stokes. So did you guys think Ryder beat Callum Smith?
100%. That was a draw. That was a draw.
I had it a draw.
Unanimous.
You had it a draw?
That was actually a robbery.
Hold on, Daryl. How did you score it, Daryl?
No, I had Ryder winning that for sure.
Hold on. Hey, Shane. Me thinking Pacquiao beat Jeff Horn is better than you thinking Ryder and Smith was a darn draw.
That was no draw. That was a win for Ryder.
I had it 6-6. I'll keep it right at 6-6.
So, hey Shane. So before we go,
did you give Smith rounds just for turning up? Then did he?
No,
he did.
But no, it's not even just that. I just feel like
he's just disagreeing at this point.
No, I swear to God, it's not that. I just feel like output doesn't automatically mean you won a round. That's what I believe. Output doesn't. He had a lot of output, but he wasn't landing a lot.
That fight there, Ryder versus Smith, and I think it was the Katie Taylor Pursoon fight, the first fight.
Yeah.
Two of the worst decisions I've seen in a British ring.
Yeah.
And when you consider that they were for world titles as well.
Would you say that's worse than Darryl Williams one?
No, I'm saying that for world titles.
There were world titles.
For world titles.
Hey Shane.
When you rob somebody in a world title fight, we have to bear in mind it's not like any other fight, is it? It's a world title on the line. It's a difference between someone eating food, you know what I mean? And living. It's like you're talking life-changing money potentially.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot worse. So for Ryder to get beat like that, I felt so sorry for the guy, man, because he got robbed. It's as simple as that.
Hey Shane,
they had plans lined up for Smith, and they were never going to let him lose that fight.
Shane, I'm going to need for you to put the lab coat on. We're going to have to go in the lab, and we're going to have to watch that fight as well.
You watch it again,
I don't
man.
mind.
Seriously, watch it again.
I only watched it once. I swear, I only watched it once. And that was live.
All right, well, you have to watch it again with me. Because if I got to watch Jeff Horn and Manny Pacquiao again, you're going to have to watch Ryder and Smith. Do we have a deal?
I don't want you to watch Manny Pacquiao Jeff Horn. I want you to watch Hunter versus Povetkin.
We can do
I
that.
swear.
With that, we can do that. So those would be, forget Pacquiao. We'll do those 2 fights.
That's fine.
All right,
that's
cool.
fine.
Listen, we have been cooking for almost 2.5 hours, man. I have to let my UK family go. This, like I said, this is probably the best live we've done. I'm just gonna come out and say it. This is the best live we've done.
It's a pleasure to take part, man. I hope you caught us, man.
Yeah, this has been crazy. But listen, Boxing Lowdown, you started off, man. Just final thoughts. Shout out your channel and your social media.
Yeah, man. Thank you for getting me on, man. A pleasure speaking to you, man. And for those that are new here, like, or that haven't been to my channel before, hit me up. The Boxing Lowdown on YouTube, also Boxing Lowdown on Instagram, Twitter, Boxing_Lowdown. And yeah, we chop it up, man. Active on there. Podcast every Thursday. Regular videos, updates, news, debates, everything. So yeah, hop over to that channel, man. And Jeff, appreciate you for letting me come back on.
Absolutely, I gotta definitely have you back. Laurie, give me your final thoughts. Give them your social media and everything.
No, man, listen, Jeff, thanks so much. It's a privilege and an honor to come on the channel and share, passionate thoughts together, man. Look forward to coming on once again. I'm not heavy in the social media. I do appear on Daryl's channel, my son's channel, every week, Boxing Lowdown. So check out the Boxing Lowdown. I work for AFTV. You can catch me at Laurie at AFTV on Twitter. And obviously check out AFTV, the football channel. We're on YouTube, Twitter.
Soccer in America.
Yeah.
Soccer in America.
Yeah, Soccer in America. But yeah, we're a big channel, man. Check it out, AFTV.
All right. And Shane, give him your, I'm trying to get Shane to start doing videos. He's not complying, but we working on it. Shane, give him your social media, Shane.
Firstly, I want to say thanks to Lowdown for coming on, because I mean, Lowdown is a guy he works very hard, and I feel like what he done, why I wanted to get Lowdown and Laurie on the most is because there's this perception, especially as you can see, there's so much American fans in the comments. They feel like all British fighters are AJ and Fury fans. So I'm glad we got Laurie and Lowdown on to just show that there actually is fans that actually like American boxing. We're not just clouded, and we're not like the rest of these guys in England who are just so clouded by what's going on in England. So I'm glad I go over to Lowdown's channel, because I feel like what he does is so good for boxing, because we do something over here, Laurie and Daryl, where if you've been speaking in the comments, we didn't do it today, but if you've been speaking in the comments, we'll just send you a link in the comments and you can jump on. The reason why I like Lowdown's channel as well is Lowdown is so responsive to the people that's on his channel. So I feel like that's one of the things that are so important as a boxing fan, is to get your opinion off and allow you a chance, because there's no difference between me and anybody else on the panel and anybody else watching. So I feel like that's dope.
Yeah,
respect,
absolutely.
bro. Respect, man.
And what's your social media, bro?
I'm Shane, the #1. That's on Instagram. I only have Instagram, and yeah, I don't really like social media that much. I'm probably one of the only journalists that don't like social media, to be honest.
Brother, you for as much as you don't want to do videos, you stay on the camera with me though.
It's not even because of that. It's because it's how I've got into you followed me from the beginning. It's how I've got into boxing. So I kind of want to make sure my foot's fully cemented in a certain industry before I start venturing, and then people start putting me in other boxes. Because when I remember when I was working a little bit with Seconds Out, they kind of put me as an interview, and I didn't like that, because I'm not. And that's what I don't really want. I don't want to be just seen as a YouTuber or blogger or something like that. Do you see my point?
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. And the thing is, for the people that's listening, that listen to my channel, it is a must. If you follow me, you have to follow Boxing Lowdown. Like, you have to follow Laurie. Like, that's family. And Shane, you know how busy I am. There's very few channels that I'm listening to on a daily basis. Laurie and Boxing Lowdown is in my rotation of maybe 6-7 channels that I keep up with on a daily basis. When I say these two are very,
very good for boxing. They are extremely good for boxing, and they need to be a part of your daily boxing diet. Period. So I'm going to be posting Laurie's link, Boxing Lowdown's link. Every time they go live, I'm posting it on all of my social media, because when you're sitting on a gold mine, the most important thing is to make sure everybody knows about it. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the most important thing. So we're connected at the end of the day. You can't rock with me unless you rocking with these two. And that's just what it is. And I know the people that know me, they know I'm saying that out of love, but I don't support too many people, period. You know, so this is family as far as I'm concerned. But on behalf of Daryl, Boxing Lowdown, definitely appreciate you jumping on. AFTV's own Laurie, definitely appreciate you. I'm gonna be hounding both of y'all to get back on the show. My boxing little brother Shane VP, appreciate you. And actually, I'm probably gonna go on live a little later on. But on behalf of everybody and everybody that came in as well, there's so many people that was in the chat. I don't even feel like doing a roll call today. Scroll up the comments to see all the names, man. Big shout out to YSM, Bushido, Boxing. But on behalf of everybody, man, G5 Jeff TV, we are out. Appreciate you guys.
Okay, man. Thanks.